Chapter 174. Tang Tian tried his best to encourage himself. Time seemed to have frozen. His understanding of blood meridians was pitiful, but he knew that the snow rainbow blood meridians was unusually important to Shui. Gu Shui took a deep breath, stood in front of the five-eyed golem, and started to make one gesture after another. Gu Shui and Tang Tian's expressions were very solemn. The five-eyed golem could help the blood meridians, but no one knew how much it could do. Tang Tian did not even dare to breathe, and clenched his fists tightly. The 7 light rays lit up one after another, but Gu Shui's expression calmed down instead. Her expression was serene, with a tinge of solemnity. Her originally beautiful appearance became even more beautiful and alluring than before. Tang Tian clenched his fists, and sighed in his heart. Tang Tian could understand this determination, and he was very familiar with it, so he did not try to persuade her. Tang Tian could see that Gu Shui was really nervous. Usually she would not speak so much. He could not help but have an urge to persuade Shui not to use it, but when his gaze met Shui's eyes, he shut his mouth. Shui's eyes were filled with nervousness and fear, but more than that, it was determination. Although the blood membrane covered Shui's body, it was too thin, and stuck tightly to Shui's skin. Shui's graceful body was instead outlined vividly. How was Shui? Did she succeed? Tang Tian's eyes widened, and he started to clench his teeth again, and his fists unconsciously clenched. Seeing that Tang Tian was confused, Gu Shui explained, "I am afraid that others will know. If the news of the five-eyed golem is leaked, then we will definitely not be able to protect it. The fewer people who know, the better." The demonic and dark red eyes lit up one by one, and when the 5 gestures were completed, all 5 eyes lit up. Gu Shui panted slightly, and the 5 gestures made her sweat profusely. That's right. This was a battle. This was a test of willpower. This was a battle. Gu Shui carefully took out the 5-eyed statue and placed it on the ground nearby. It was an empty room, and all the debris had been cleared away. "Young man, cheer up. What's wrong with you? So weak? Keep your eyes open. You have to inspect every detail. If something goes wrong, you can deal with it. If you had been distracted on the battlefield, you would have died long ago. Maintain your focus, concentrate." Bing noticed Tang Tian's absent-mindedness, and lightly coughed to remind him. The scene before him was indescribably strange, causing Tang Tian to feel a chill down his spine. After all, he was too unfamiliar with things like bloodlines. However, he knew that the change in front of him wasn't a bad thing. Gu Shui smiled sweetly at Tang Tian. "Thank you, Tian." Tang Tian was flustered as he asked Bing in his heart. Bing was right, that was Tang Tian's first reaction. He completely did not think that even if something was wrong, how would he deal with it? Shui, whose entire body was covered by the blood membrane, was definitely curvaceous. With Tang Tian's culture, he definitely did not know that there was such a word in this world, but what he was feeling now was exactly the same as this word. The thin blood membrane was like a tight-fitting red leather coat, perfectly accentuating Shui's hot figure. At this time, Gu Shui opened her eyes in a daze. Oh, young man, my back is turned, I will definitely not peek. Don't worry, as an instructor, my professional conduct is definitely reassuring." Gu Shui's delicate body trembled, her face showing a trace of pain. Bing's roar reverberated in Tang Tian's heart. Tang Tian opened his eyes wide, his expression sinister, and used all the strength in his body. On the surface of the blood membrane, there were many cracks. Tang Tian did not dare to blink, his heart was filled with anxiety. Tang Tian did not have time to care about the problem of the star coins, because Shui was already prepared. The 5-eyed statue's red light beam shone on Shui's body, and the clothes on Shui's body started to burn. As time passed, Tang Tian, who was sweating profusely, did not dare to move. Sweat trickled down from his forehead and dripped onto his eyelashes. Tang Tian did not dare to blink. In fact, his hands were clenched into fists. From the start till now, he did not move at all. So he saw the moment the clothes were burnt to ashes, the snow-like skin, so he saw the smooth and delicate, so he saw the seductive erect. Damn it. Such a tough battle. Gu Shui, who was in mid-air, did not notice that she was in mid-air, panicked, and lost control of her body, and fell to the ground. No buts. As a warrior, this is war. Do you understand war? If you close your eyes, then you are surrendering, and you are admitting defeat. Uncle, what do we do? Bing coughed lightly and encouraged Tang Tian loudly. Young man, open your eyes wide. You have to look carefully. If you don't look carefully, if something goes wrong, your reaction will not be able to keep up. Tang Tian clenched his teeth, his eyes were wide open, and his forehead was full of sweat. Deep breaths, deep breaths. After a full 10 seconds, a snow-white perfect body, completely presented in front of Tang Tian. Gu Shui suddenly reacted, and subconsciously screamed, but just as she screamed, she suddenly reacted. If it attracted other people, it would be bad. Her beautiful face turned pale, and she immediately covered her mouth. The rainbow light gradually dimmed, and at this time, the 5 beams of red light shot out by the 5-eyed statue became as thick as blood. Tang Tian's expression froze on his face, Gu Shui's expression froze on his face, Tang Tian's body froze on the spot, and Gu Shui's body froze in midair. The demonic statue seemed to be looking at Shui. Shui's face once again surfaced a look of pain, and then her body trembled violently, even more violently than before. Tang Tian's heart suddenly jumped. Tang Tian quivered, and regained his senses. He forcefully stopped in his tracks. Both of their gazes collided without any fancy moves. 5 beams of light enveloped Gu Shui's body, and Gu Shui's feet slowly left the ground, and her body slowly floated up. Gu Shui's eyes were tightly shut, and her eyebrows were tightly knitted, as though she was enduring some kind of pain, and her body was trembling slightly. A pair of strong hands caught her. If it was said, just now, it was the presentation of the details, then the overall visual impact now made Tang Tian fall into a trance. He took a deep breath, and tried his best to calm his surging emotions. Shui, you can do it. Following that, the eye on the 5-eyed statue's right palm shot out a beam of red light, and landed on Gu Shui's body. The left eye, right eye, and the 3 red eyes between the eyebrows also shot out beams of red light. Open your eyes wide and stay calm. Young man, fight. But, Tang Tian argued. Suddenly, Shui, who was wrapped in a blood membrane floating in the air, moved. At this moment, the red eye on the 5-eyed statue's left palm suddenly shot out a demonic beam of red light, and the red light landed on Gu Shui's body. At this moment, the blood membrane on Shui's body turned into countless tiny pieces, and suddenly, it exploded. Tang Tian's head felt like it was struck by lightning. When the last piece of Shui's skin was covered by the blood membrane, Tang Tian finally heaved a sigh of relief. He then realized unknowingly he was drenched in sweat. Tang Tian was ashamed of his thoughts just now. Bing was right, if there was no demon in the heart, there would not be any distracting thoughts. Gu Shui's face turned white in a flash, but she knew the severity of the situation and did not dare to let go of the hand that was covering her mouth, for fear of attracting attention. Indeed, it was a tough battle. Everyone in this courtyard has been cleared, Gu Shui said softly, and it could be seen that she was slightly nervous. Battle? Battle? Tangtan, how can you admit defeat? Snow rainbow. Is this the 7 colors of the rainbow? But the questions that followed made Tang Tian extremely embarrassed. Very quickly, the blood membrane on Shui's body increased, and almost covered half of her body. Tang Tian grunted. For some reason, he was slightly nervous, and his palms were slightly sweaty. Even if it was a fight with the strong martial artists, Tang Tian would not be nervous, but at this moment he was slightly nervous. When Tang Tian's attention once again landed on Shui's body, he could not help but be stunned. Tang Tian's spirit was roused. Is the crucial moment here? He tried his best to open his eyes wide, for fear of missing out the slightest bit. Tang Tian felt that his face was burning up, and his ears were filled with Bing's impassioned speech. This is a matter of life and death. Don't tell me you want something to happen to Shui? If you don't want to, then you have to open your eyes wide. As your instructor, I have to use my bloody experience to tell you, on the battlefield, a careless mistake will often result in the loss of a life. Suddenly, Ashue's body lit up with a faint scarlet light aura. Following that was orange, then yellow, then green, cyan, blue, purple, 7 different colored light auras, one after another, causing Tang Tian to be dumbstruck. With every technique completed, the 5-eyed golem would light up one of its eyes. Tang Tian grunted. He opened his eyes wide, and his gaze roamed around Ashue's body. Thus, he noticed many details that he had not noticed before. Tang Tian's face instantly turned red. Tang Tian's spirit was roused. It was the 5 golem techniques, although there were many places where Ashue's posture was not perfect, but Tang Tian could recognize it with one look. The young lady's face regained its calmness. That touch of determination once again returned to her face. She said softly, "Then I will begin. Don't worry, I will always guard here. Ashue, you can definitely do it." Tang Tian patted his chest and said loudly he wanted to use this method to make Ashue feel more at ease. Ashue's beautiful eyes instantly widened, and her body suddenly froze. Tang Tian, who was unprecedentedly focused, instantly captured every detail clearly and accurately. A young man without a devil in his heart will not have any distracting thoughts, and will always bravely open his eyes wide and look straight at his enemies. Even the air seemed to have an additional smell of blood. Her exposed skin was quickly covered by a thin layer of blood film, as the thick red light that was like blood, as long as it touched Ashue's skin, it would form a thin layer of blood film. Tang Tian was shocked. His legs were about to rush over, but when he noticed that the clothes that were burnt to ashes, what was revealed was her snow-white skin. There was not a single scar on it. Behind the cross door, Bing sat with his back facing the cross door, stroking his poker chin, and muttered to himself, "Such a miss perfect. If I miss this, I will be struck by lightning. Fight well, young man. Oh, I have to ask around how much wealth the Gu family has." Chapter 175. Tang Tian spat out a mouthful of turbid air and said coldly, "You talk big, you want to discipline this and that, and I thought you were powerful? With this standard, get out of the Gu family." Tang Tian's temperament was originally pure, although it did make him feel awkward at that time. "No, it's silver transformation." Tang Tian grinned, suddenly took a step forward, and walked towards Old Man Yu and said, "Hey, Old Man Yu, you actually haven't left yet? Seems like I didn't hurt you the last time. The lesson wasn't deep enough." The silver spread quickly. Tang Tian heard the lady chuckle, and was surprised, and looked towards the seat of honor. A silhouette appeared in his heart. He had never seen this person before, but this silhouette was so clear in his heart. Both sides clashed without any fancy moves. And the few pressuring auras of power, their fighting intense sword. The Star Master personally came to the Gu family. This news spread at an astonishing speed. "Since your goal is Southern Cross Constellation, then I will definitely find you." Old Man Yu had not recovered from the previous injury, and now with Tang Tian's words, his face turned green and white. Tang Tian was dumbstruck. It was the first time he knew scolding people could reach such a shocking level. Everyone present suddenly had an illusion. The slowly walking Tang Tian was like a ball of light, so dazzling that no one could look straight at him. Everyone's heart was in awe. Mu Lei's face revealed an indescribable expression, and his voice was filled with nervousness. "The Star Master is here. Young Miss is entertaining him. Young Master Tian, young Miss invites you over." It was a pity he could not enter the martial spirit chamber. If not, he could enter the spirit region to find Sai Lei and sell a few sets of mechanical weapons, and he could earn the money. Tang Tian still had lingering fears about the tough battle, but very quickly he threw the matter to the back of his mind. Ashue was a good friend. To think of things that would make Ashue feel awkward was not right. All the mysteries were quickly revealed. The last sentence, "You don't know the immensity of heaven and earth," caused the temperature in the hall to plummet. The elder was so angry that he laughed, and his killing intent soared. "Since you're courting death, then don't blame me." The Star Master, who was about to speak, heard the chuckle of the girl beside him and immediately shut his mouth. He also chuckled, "This kid has a pure heart." The old man's face turned green. The pointed sea spear can make the cultivator's body stronger. This silverization will start from the hair, then it will seep into the flesh, and then into the bones. Completely silver body, very scary. He immediately lowered his body into a horse stance, and his feet didn't move an inch. Facing his opponent's attack, he punched out. Suddenly, a Mu Lei rushed over with a strange expression on his face. The Star Master, who had been silent all this while, spoke. The elder's face stiffened. He floated down from the great beam and said to Tang Tian fiercely, "Today, for the sake of the Star Master, I will let you go." Tang Tian concentrated and repeated, and could barely keep up with Bing's speed. "Su, if there comes a day when your pointed sea spear reaches a higher level, your body might undergo some changes." Tang Tian was full of confidence. When he was young, he had a conversation with his teacher, and it surfaced in his mind. The Gu family's hall had been renovated and was as good as new. The huge hall was filled with people, but it was unusually quiet. Tang Tian was secretly speechless. This Star Master had such a powerful aura. But very quickly, Tang Tian had some doubts. These people were all unfamiliar, and he had never seen them before. Gu Shue's expression suddenly became cold, and the rest of the Gu family were all dissatisfied and angry. "Work harder!" Bing shouted excitedly in Tang Tian's mind, and a series of venomous words were like a machine gun. "If you're old, then so be it. You're old and you still come out to embarrass yourself. Look, you've lost so much face. How are you going to live in the future? Relax, your cowardice today will leave a deep impression on everyone, and it will be spread far and wide. In the future, every generation of the Yu family will remember this day deeply." Tang Tian, who regained his senses, had a cold expression. He had long disliked this rascal, and for him to make a move, it was exactly what he wanted. Tang Tian's venomous words made everyone present feel a strong evil intent. In the future, they must never offend this rascal. Maybe suffering is Little Su's path, but teacher, Little Su will not give up. Old Man Yu's face was a mix of green and red. He did not expect that Tang Tian would actually humiliate him in front of the Star Master, in front of everyone. The current Gu family, no one dared to have any ideas. As Tang Tian walked, he clenched his fists so hard that cracking sounds could be heard. His face was filled with arrogance, as though he was a delinquent looking for trouble on the streets. These gazes were filled with surprise, admiration, jealousy, doubt, scrutiny, sizing up. A few of these gazes seemed to have substance and were extremely oppressive. "Star coins. Oh, I understand. You're too old. Men and what not have left you." Everyone's gazes all turned to look at Tang Tian. Tang Tian was immersed in training. The star rocks in his hands were being depleted at an alarming rate. Just like a thrifty person, when he started spending lavishly, he would feel the pinch. But once he got used to spending, he would not feel the pinch. What made Tang Tian even more surprised was that his true power was improving at a godly speed. Bing praised in Tang Tian's heart, "Good scolding. Young lad, you have some of my style now." Tang Tian was not afraid, and looked towards the few gazes. "Presumptuous." Old Man Yu suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood, and fell straight on his back. His face was pale, and his breathing was weak. When he saw the lady sitting on the main seat, his entire body froze, and his soul flew out. Gu Shui was the first to notice Tang Tian, and his eyes lit up. "Tian. Teacher, is it to become stronger? You traitor. Empowering? Turning your body into silver? Star Master?" Tang Tian was stunned. What is he doing here? Ling Su's fists clenched tightly, his expression sinister. Bing said that he still needed 106th level star rocks, and this number was rather accurate. Tang Tian saw Mu Lei's anxious expression and immediately said, "I'll go take a look now." "Uncle Mu, don't worry, I'm here." "Wow, that must be very powerful. That's great. I want to be empowering too." Every martial artist of the Gu family who had activated the Snow Rainbow Blood Meridians were all powerful martial artists. Those martial artists who did not object to Old Man Yu's bullying of the Gu family all came forward to express their goodwill. Su Changtian's attitude was close to flattering him. Tang Tian, who was originally not proper, paused, the light in his eyes increased, and he took a step forward. Tang Tian made a face at the elder, and stuck out his tongue, which attracted a few chuckles. The limestone under Tang Tian's feet shattered, and his feet sank, but his body did not move. The elder felt as though he had hit a steel wall, and a huge rebounding force came, and his body flew backwards, flipping continuously in the air, and stopped on a beam high up in the hall. Bang! Pooh! When Tang Tian shifted his gaze, his eyes suddenly congealed. Ling Su muttered softly. Tang Tian turned his face, and realized it was a simple and skinny elder, his eyes long and narrow, staring at Tang Tian with an unfriendly face. Tang Tian looked at him for a while, did not recognize him, and turned his face away. Subduing the enemy without fighting, this is the highest realm of the art of war. I finally understood. Behind the cross door, Bing stood with his arms crossed, looking up at the sky, his face deep and desolate, and said softly, "When the matter is done, leave with a brush of the robe, hide the merits and fame." A few of them stood beside the Star Master. Su Changtian was one of them. Tang Tian understood. They were the four great attendants under the Star Master. But another gaze filled with enmity attracted Tang Tian's attention. "I don't know." Mu Lei's face was full of worry. The Star Master's sudden arrival, the entire Gu family, was extremely nervous. The attendants beside the Star Master were all angry. Su Changtan laughed bitterly. This guy was really stupid. Just as the attendants were about to speak, the Star Master suddenly raised his palm. The attendants were startled, but all stopped in their tracks. A cold and stern voice suddenly sounded. It was the elder beside Old Man Yu. He squinted his eyes and said softly, "Where did this uncultured Tom, Dick, and Harry come from?" Seeing that the Gu family is pitiful, Old Man Yu took care of them out of kindness, and you guys repay him with evil. Old Man Yu is a man of virtue and prestige, and will not bicker with you. The Gu family has grown up and has thrown away the Gu family's rules. Looks like I have to help the few good friends of the Gu family to discipline you juniors. Just because you have some standards, you don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. After thinking for half a day, Tang Tian could not think of any good ideas. He simply threw the problem to the back of his head and trained seriously. "No, Su, you must not be empowered. Your bone structure is already fixed. When the empowerment seeps into your bones, it will increase your pain. No one can endure that kind of pain." Tang Tian was not angry at all and grinned. "Don't we just want to fight? Talk so much nonsense? Don't rush, one by one, you wait first, Old Man Yu. Why? Are you scared? A turtle hiding in its shell? Are you a man? If you're a man, then come out and fight." Although Gu Shui still felt awkward when she saw Tang Tian, but she started to regain her composure. Gu Shui, who had activated the snow rainbow blood meridians, immediately caused a stir in the Gu family, and the whole Gu family was in a jubilant mood. And the warriors who lived in the Gu family all came up to congratulate. The unusually quiet hall was even quieter, so quiet that a pin drop could be heard. Everyone's mouth was wide open, and they looked at Tang Tian in a daze. Was this guy crazy? Courting death? That elder was furious and jumped up like a falcon pouncing. Didn't he know that the Star Master was present? "Uncle Mu, what happened?" Tang Tian was a little puzzled. Enough. Beside that elder, he actually saw Old Man Yu, and he instantly understood. Ling Su got up from the medicinal tub and walked to the mirror. The handsome face in the mirror had a trace of confusion, and his gaze fell on the dazzling silver hair on his head. "I want to kill you personally." Ling Su still remembered his teacher's worried expression at that time. He was just about to pounce, when suddenly a low voice rang in everyone's ears. He suddenly chuckled at himself in the mirror. His silver hair made his already handsome face look even more handsome. The confusion in his eyes was swept away, and his orange-red eyes were like a peaceful flame. Chapter 176. The Star Master looked around and said blandly, "There are still a few more days, everyone will be here, and we will discuss the matter again. But from today onwards, Black Mountain City forbids weapons." "What do we do now?" Tang Tian waved his hand, and Bing floated out. Although Gu Shui was the master, but her position was obviously not high enough to sit in the main seat. Facing the Star Master's attitude, she did not have the slightest intention to object. However, she noticed the woman on the main seat. It wasn't just her. Anyone who was slightly more sensitive would have found it hard not to notice this woman. The young lady's face immediately revealed a pleased look. Now you know I'm smart. As for the method, I do have one, but it has a condition. The young lady's face drooped, looking unhappy. But he did not expect that the other party actually knew about the martial spirit contract. Marquis Wu, could it be that he really had a great background? Su Changtian, Xianxia and the rest who were standing at the side broke out in cold sweat. If you let us go, all the grievances in the past will be written off. Xianxia said in a deep voice, I promise. Sadly, they are not. Bing said, if you can't do it, I will. As the chief instructor of the army, I will definitely not give them too much pain. There will definitely not be a situation where they are not killed in one slash. The Star Master stood up and said blandly, then I will have to trouble everyone for a few days, go and rest. Thinking about when he returned to the residence, what awaited him would definitely be Marquis Wu's monstrous rage. No small movements, no secret conversations. Gu Shui replied in a manner that was neither servile nor overbearing, as long as Gu Shui can help, I will not shirk from it. So powerful? Ling Su was stunned. He turned his face and smiled at Gu Shui, Master Gu, please follow me. How could it be like this? Marquis definitely could not tolerate such a lousy person actually signing a martial spirit contract with the princess and becoming her teacher. Tang Tian said to the little girl, you are the smartest, you think of a solution. Ling Su glared at Tang Tian angrily. Are you insulting my intelligence? Tang Tianho, his gaze turned to the young lady, and was surprised. Don't tell me you don't know about the martial spirit contract? He turned to Bing and said, Uncle, tell her about the martial spirit contract. Who the hell are you? Tang Tian asked in a deep voice. Bing laughed out loud and patted his chest. No problem, I will teach you. Tang Tian brought out the two captives, one big and one small, and took out the handkerchiefs from their mouths. Xianxia was at a loss. His future was dark. The three of them rolled their eyes in unison. That's right. Ling Su also shook his head. I won't let my gun be stained with innocent blood. Tang Tian was really scared out of his wits. Everyone's heart skipped a beat as they replied in unison, yes. Only then did Gu Shui calm down. Gu Shui regained his senses and immediately smiled. It's just a small misunderstanding. Master, you don't have to worry about it. Master's presence brings light to our humble Gu family, and we are extremely honored. You are too courteous to say things like disturbing us. If Master has any requests, please let us know. What made Gu Shui feel strange was not only the Star Master and the lady, but also Tang Tian. Weird, Tian was a little too quiet today. When Tian came in to provoke Old Man Yu, it was very normal. But after that, it became very abnormal. But the martial spirit contract. The lady sitting on the main seat, he recognized her with one look. She was actually the female bodyguard who fought with him during the ambush that day. Suddenly, Tang Tian remembered that Xianxia once said that they were Marquis Wu's men. Do you believe in oaths or silencing people? Bing asked Tang Tian. This conversation made everyone's heart aghast. Could it be that the Gu family and the Star Master actually had some relationship? What matter did the Star Master have to trouble the Gu family? Very good, very good. The Star Master nodded his head. Tang Tian asked Ling Su. Your teacher, my teacher? The female bodyguard who fought with me that day. Tang Tian said to Ling Su. That lady seems to have some background. Even the Star Master listens to her. He was completely disheartened. His body trembled. How did things become like this? The young lady's face revealed a panicked expression. Martial spirit contract. I don't know. Let's do it this way. Tang Tian continued. Come, let's sign the martial spirit contract. But at this time, everyone was present. She did not dare to ask. Silencing people. Bing touched his chin. Although it's a little old-fashioned, but it's very effective. After killing them, we can just bury them anywhere. Who can find them? The three of them looked at each other. That's right. That's a good idea, right? The young lady was pleased. Zhai Hengzhan panicked. Miss, don't do anything rash. Tang Tian was overjoyed. You're really smart. All right, then I'll do it. Tang Tian said indifferently. See, even he doesn't believe me. Tang Tian innocently waved his hands at Zhai Hengzhan. He turned and asked Bing. Uncle, what good idea do you have? Martial spirit contract? The young lady was stunned. Tang Tian scratched his head. Hesitation surfaced on his face. If these two were evil people, he would have made his move long ago. But these two people were just an accident. Tang Tian looked at the young lady. She had already recovered from her initial fear. Her eyes rolled around. Tang Tian slapped his forehead. Such a smart girl. I'm really stupid to not use her. After a while, when Zhai Hengzhan woke up, he heard Bing talking nonstop. Seeing the two of them so determined, Bing's poker face twitched. He said indifferently, then you two settle it yourselves. What condition? Tang Tian was on guard. The young lady licked her lips. My request is simple. You two accompany me on an adventure. After that, I'm lacking a teacher. Although your standard is slightly lacking, it's barely passable. I can announce to the public that you're my teacher. That way, naturally no one will dare to find trouble with you. Ever since he was captured, he had been extremely calm. On one hand, he could see that Tang Tian and the rest were kind-hearted. They did not have any evil intentions. On the other hand, he believed in Marquis Wu's power. He would be able to save them quickly. When he heard the princess talking about the method to acknowledge a teacher, Zhai Hengzhan praised the princess for being quick-witted. Zhai Hengzhan's eyes darkened. He almost fainted again. Marquis Wu's bodyguard is Zhai Hengzhan. She is Princess Mingzhu. Zhai Hengzhan said calmly. He had a lot of experience. Seeing Tang Tian's expression, he knew something had changed. You met the people from Marquis Wu? Gu Shui followed behind the master of the star. The lady sitting on the main seat smiled at Gu Shui. Master Gu, don't be nervous. It's not a bad thing. Tang Tian did not know what Bing was smiling about. Ling Su did not understand either. The two of them looked at each other. The young lady smiled slyly. I came to Phylan's Star secretly for an adventure. But I was caught by them. They wanted to bring me back. The princess's teacher, Marquis Wu, was very strict and picky towards the princess's teacher. Zhai Hengzhan, who had always stayed in the residence, was very clear about it. He could even clearly remember the tragic end of those teachers who could not satisfy Marquis Wu. Those martial artists who were not involved in the conflict between Old Man Yu and the Gu family were all glad. But those who were on Old Man Yu's side had a change in expression. Including the old man who fought with Tang Tian just now, his face changed slightly. We can't do this. Tang Tian shook his head. This is a misunderstanding. And it is a misunderstanding caused by us. How can we let them bear the consequences? Tian stood behind him. He did not say a word. The master of the star revealed a satisfied smile. Master Gu is indeed a reasonable person. I have other matters to discuss with Master Gu later. Bing laughed happily. Young lad, who said you're stupid? This is a great idea. Why didn't I think of it? Martial spirit contract. Once the martial spirit contract is signed, she cannot go back on her word. The contract is established. Oh, he will accompany you to explore Buzhou Mountain. He will protect you throughout the process. Oh, from today onwards, he will be your teacher. From today onwards, you must treat him as a disciple. A teacher for a day, a father for life. The respectful attitude of the master of the star towards this lady showed that she had a great background. It was too abnormal. Ling Su bluntly sealed Zhai Hengzhan's mouth. Woo-woo. Zhai Hengzhan struggled with all his might. But a fist landed on his head. He fainted immediately. Facing everyone's gaze, Ling Su was expressionless. Too noisy. Do you believe it? Tang Tian asked Ling Su. Ling Su, hurry up and come over. There's trouble. Ling Su's eyes lit up. He stopped and followed behind Tang Tian without saying a word. The two of them entered the room. If it was just a temporary measure, Marquis Wu would not mind. Who knows, he might be able to get away with it. The bodyguards would be punished, but their lives would not be in danger. Ling Su shook his head without hesitation. I have no interest in being a brat's teacher. In Zhai Hengzhan's mind, Marquis's face filled with rage and roars appeared. The terrifying rage was enough to tear everything apart. But with the martial spirit contract, Marquis would definitely not make a move on Tang Tian. His rage could only be vented on the bodyguards who did not protect him well. Other than spoiling the princess, Marquis Wu was extremely strict to the others. Right now, every single teacher of the princess was a top-notch scholar or master who had been selected from tens of thousands of teachers through many layers of screening. The Star Master's gaze swept across the crowd. He said calmly, I came here to borrow the Gu family's land to summon the heads of the various families on Phylan's star to discuss important matters. There was no notice in advance. It is said that some of my subordinates were ignorant and had a conflict with Patriarch Gu. Patriarch Gu, please forgive me. Sorry to disturb you. Tang Tian tilted his head and thought for a while. It depends. If Chia swears, I will definitely believe her. Tang Tian lowered his voice. The little girl's face turned pale. Even Zhai Hengzhan's face was a little pale. He said in a low voice, I can swear. Once the two sides signed the martial spirit contract, it meant that it could not be changed. Even if Marquis Wu did it himself, it could not be changed. Tang Tian did not follow them. Instead, he quickly ran back to the small courtyard. On the way, he was always on guard against anyone following him. When he reached the small courtyard, he saw Ling Su practicing his spear. Chapter 177. Tang Tian looked at the complicated route attentively, trying his best to memorize it, and said, Is this thing accurate or not? Please don't be like a certain uncle who is unreliable. Hey, if you don't stop, I'm going to make a move. Tang Tian shouted. He knew he was in the wrong. The sneak attack was a huge mistake. Last time when Tang Tian and Qingwan fought, Qingwan did not even have time to activate her blood meridians, and was quickly dealt with by Tang Tian in close combat. But now, her sword techniques combined with her blood meridians, and her powers suddenly increased explosively. Qingwan did not expect Tang Tian's improvement to be so shocking, far exceeding her imagination. Thinking about how she suffered at his hands that day, and how she could not do anything to Tang Tian today, she became even angrier. It's already very powerful. The little girl did not even raise her head. This is a star chart drawn by my teacher. There are all kinds of routes on it, including some unknown ancient routes. Tang Tian suddenly realized the positions of the constellations in the book would change at an extremely slow speed. If not for his strong eyesight and keen intuition, he would not have noticed it. His body seemed to have no bones, quietly wriggling down the wall. His eyes became like a snake's, gloomy and terrifying. Qingwan's eyes blurred, and she lost sight of Tang Tian. Zhai Hengzhan revealed a bitter smile. This time we've gotten into big trouble. The little girl snorted. Of course it's accurate. Grandmaster grade star charts cannot be bought on the market. Tang Tian's intuition was very sharp. The moment Qingwan made her move, he reacted, and with a tap of his feet, he brushed past Qingwan's sword aura. Yes, Teacher Yusen said before, every star in Heaven's Road, their positions, are slowly changing. The little girl's tone was incomparably proud. Teacher Yusen is an extremely outstanding and renowned master of astronomy. The little girl said impatiently, Don't be noisy, can't you see I'm looking? It's good that you're fine, Qingwan said incoherently. Take this opportunity to eliminate Tang Tian in one fell swoop. When Tang Tian was barely able to block a few extremely agile sword rays and was forced to retreat, the old man who had been lying in ambush for a long time suddenly made his move. The little girl and Zhai Hengzhan looked at each other. Zhai Hengzhan recounted the matter of him acknowledging her as his teacher, and Qingwan was instantly petrified. After a while, she suddenly came back to her senses and angrily screamed, What qualifications does he have to be the princess teacher? So it was that guy's doing. I was wondering why he looked so familiar when I saw him that day. So it was him. It's him. Thinking about how Tang Tian embarrassed him in the hall today, he hated Tang Tian to the bone. The little girl rubbed her forehead. She felt that this was definitely the darkest experience of her life. Well, people always have to face their bleak lives. The little girl sighed and turned her gaze back to the star chart. The furious Qinghuan saw Tang Tian and immediately exploded. Without saying a word, the long sword in her hand stabbed towards Tang Tian. In the corner, there was a pair of eyes that were watching this battle. It was the old man who attacked Tang Tian in the hall that day. At this moment, he was secretly delighted. He did not think that Tang Tian would be so stupid to actually dare to attack his master. Although he did not know Qinghuan's background, without a doubt, the other party's background was extremely powerful. When he saw Qinghuan's furious figure, his heart moved and he quietly followed. He did not expect to see this scene in front of him. Qinghuan's emotions had calmed down. Hearing Xianxia's words, she was a little surprised. What big trouble? It was a very, very long journey. Golden Snake bloodline. Where is that? The little girl was at a loss. Although Xianxia's strength was similar to his, he did not dare to disobey the other party's orders. He used to be in Marquiwu. Although he was in charge of one side now, one word from Xianxia could make his life miserable. He did not know how Chia was doing now. His heart was instantly filled with longing, and this made him have the urge to set off immediately. Tang Tian took a deep breath, but he knew that haste makes waste. There was a lot of trouble that had not been solved yet. He had to pass through the Stargate to be able to leave Phylan's star. The female guard looked at the princess and Xianxia in front of her in disbelief. The master of the star, who was beside her, also had a very strange expression. They had made such a big fuss, but they did not expect that the princess would appear in front of them before they even started. The pressure on Tang Tian increased sharply. The other party's speed had increased to the same level as his. But the most terrifying thing was the layer of green light on the sword ray. The originally sharp sword ray seemed to have grown wings at this moment. Not only was it faster, but it also became more agile. Xianxia had always been brave and fearless. This was the first time she heard him say the words, "Big trouble." Her eyes were covered with a layer of faint green light, and she could not tell whether she was happy or angry. Her speed increased sharply. The sword ray was also covered with a layer of faint green light, and its speed suddenly increased. "All right." Tang Tian patted the head of the sluggish little girl and said kindly, "You can meet with your guard and then finalize the time for the expedition." Seeing Qinghuan's true feelings, the little girl was touched and said softly, "I'm fine. I didn't suffer much. But this time, I'm afraid you will be implicated." She was shocked. So fast. Unlike Xianxia, who was ashen, the little girl quickly regained her calmness. Hearing Tang Tian's itinerary, her eyes lit up. "Itinerary? Where are you going? Is it an adventure?" Suddenly, a green bird tattoo appeared on her forehead. Blood meridians were activated. Caught off guard, Tang Tian was in a sorry state. Swoosh, she stood up, her face was filled with anger. She clenched her teeth and said, "No. I can't let him off so easily." Suddenly, a green figure barged in. "Qinghuan blood meridians. Let me see." Tang Tian impatiently came over. The green sword ray seemed to have come alive. Its trajectory became harder to grasp and more erratic. He found the location of Phylan's star. Hearing that, Tang Tian was excited. "Can you find the Southern Cross constellation?" All the qi in his body disappeared. He was like a golden snake hunting its prey, waiting for the opportunity to strike. "Found it." Qinghuan was even more furious. "Who's with you?" Tang Tian's face was full of admiration. "No wonder, to be able to stand shoulder to shoulder with me as your teacher, he does have some skills." The cold snake eyes squinted. He carefully retreated and closed the door. Tang Tian moved quickly. "Southern Cross constellation." Tang Tian explained. The Star Master immediately regained his senses and said, "Yes." From the star map, Marquis Wu's sphere of influence included 40 planets. Tang Tian gradually closed in and entered his attack range. "You flatter me." Tang Tian was pleased with himself. He was not ashamed but proud. "A heaven-sent opportunity." Qinghuan said, "So it's him," a few times in one breath. The anger on her face was uncontrollable. The sword radiance became even more intense, and the cold sword radiance instantly sliced through everything it touched. The stone tables and chairs in the courtyard, the trees and plants, were all destroyed. The female guard finally reacted. Her eyes became misty. She rushed over. "Princess, you've suffered." The young lady glanced at Tang Tian in disdain. She took out a thick book. "Southern Cross Constellation, let me see." Tang Tian was looking at the star map. It was his first time seeing such a detailed and complicated star map. On it, there were different colored lines marking different routes. Every planet's star door was marked in detail. Although there was no constellation, the range was astonishing. This was a place he had to pass through. If he did not handle it well, he would not be able to pass through Marquis Wu's territory. Tang Tian curiously went over. On the book were all sorts of constellations and all sorts of complicated routes, causing Tang Tian to feel dizzy and could not help but be speechless. "What is this? It looks powerful." Tang Tian's eyes shone with a steel-like aura. It was located at a corner of Heaven's Road. From the star map, he seemed to have crossed the entire Onyx Soul. Entering Cetus constellation, his journey had just begun. That day, when Tang Tian crossed hands with her, his strength had already shocked her. But in just a few days he actually improved so much. Since he had settled this hot potato, Tang Tian did not have any worries. He happily released the young lady and Xianxia. Ling Su did not have the patience to wait for him. He minded his own business and started to train. Numerous thick and thin long golden lines appeared on his body. These golden lines intertwined with each other. They were like golden snakes coiling together. "Wow, so powerful!" Tang Tian was surprised. Taking advantage of the young lady's complacent look, he snatched it over. With a righteous look, he said, "Let me study it. When I'm done, I'll return it to you." "Let me calculate." The young lady muttered, "We need to pass through at least 20 constellations. It's really far." Hey. Tang Tian kept the star map and said, "We're on the same team now. Don't worry. This godlike young lad will do what he says. But you guys have to seize the time to discuss. Our schedule is very tight." After a while, the young lady's spirit was roused. She was surprised. "It's really far." With that, Tang Tian disappeared without a trace. But at this moment, she was filled with anger. She did not care about her own safety. Her body spun like a spinning top. Her sword aura coiled around her as she rushed towards Tang Tian. "Bing! They can move?" Tang Tian was like a curious baby. He was very surprised. With that, he rushed out of the door angrily. Tang Tian gestured, "A very, very far place. Oh, you're still young. You'll know when you grow up." The young lady opened her eyes wide. She looked at Tang Tian in disbelief. After a while, she said, "The only thing you've surpassed Teacher Yu Sin in is your shamelessness. But I'll definitely rush there." The young lady was stunned. Ever since she grew up, no one had ever dared to snatch something from her hands. Xianxia glanced at the Star Master. He waved his hand and said, "You guys go out first." His body was like a swimming fish. His astonishing speed was as fast as lightning. Qinghuan's sword aura could not even touch the corner of Tang Tian's clothes. Chapter 178. Bing looked at the indifferent ghost claw and sighed. "You never thought that this fellow could actually awaken peacocks so quickly. This fellow's martial spirit is really strong." "Ha! Peacock, we are going to fight together again." Qinghuan, who was rushing towards Tang Tian in mid-air, although she was surprised, she did not panic. With a turn of the sword hilt, like a swaying umbrella, countless green sword auras were like water droplets being flung out of the umbrella, sprinkling out from the sword in her hand. The old man who launched the sneak attack, curled up in a corner, his chi completely concealed. The current him was like a piece of dead wood, without any signs of life. As if they were telepathic, Peacock suddenly opened its wings. A pair of exquisite silver wings formed by countless feathers blossomed on Tang Tian's back. Qinghuan's attainments in sword techniques, compared to big brother Jing Hao, were far inferior, and comparing Qinghuan blood meridians to angel blood meridians, Tang Tian did not feel much of an improvement, but the two were extremely compatible. The degree of increase in power made Tang Tian shocked. She admits defeat. But, for Peacock to be so unyielding, it is somewhat out of my expectations. After being silent for too long, it is probably lonely and yearns to fight like before. Silver Peacock's eyes were ice cold without a trace of warmth, but for some reason she could see a trace of scorn in it. After 100 moves, she actually did not manage to take down Tang Tian. Qingwan, who was on guard, was startled. Tang Tian did not rush towards her. The martial spirit in his body jumped like a flame. Suddenly a thought appeared in his mind, and without thinking, he blurted out. She had the rare Qingwan blood meridians, and Marquis had even found a gold card for her. Qingyao sword, the perfect combination of the two, caused her fighting power to have a qualitative change. It was just that she rarely had the chance to fight, and her battle experience was almost zero. With a long whistle, the sword hilt turned. Wang, the sky full of green sword auras, suddenly converged on her body. The little girl was also stunned. Of course, she recognized the silver armor, and she knew more about it. The old man almost couldn't believe his eyes. How did Tang Tian find out? He clearly didn't find out just now. If not for his unusually strong intuition, he would have been defeated long ago. Ding ding ding. Unexpectedly, Ling Su, you must do your best. The green sword auras in front of him were like a group of agile spirits. They were unfathomable, and their flying trajectories were ever-changing. Like mercury spilling onto the ground, it pounced towards Tang Tian. Zhai Hengzhan cried out involuntarily. His eyes were firmly attracted by the gorgeous and exquisite silver armor that Tang Tian was wearing. No one would dislike armors, but this was onyx soul, not to mention armors. Even bronze treasures were not commonly seen. Peacock did not speak, but her mercury-like eyes flashed with a cold fighting spirit. It was so dense that it made one's teeth ache. A ray of green light that was even more dazzling than all the sword auras shot into his field of vision. But this time, the light came fast and disappeared even faster. In a blink of an eye, Tang Tian's figure once again appeared in front of everyone. But this time, Tang Tian's body had an unusually gorgeous silver feathered armor. Kill! Tang Tian was unhappy. Hey, what are you doing? You guys can fight whenever you want, and stop whenever you want? Humph, it's not that easy. This is a silver armor. Qingwan pressed down on the sword hilt, the sword wings on her back extended, and her aura exploded. A noble and arrogant silver peacock appeared on Tang Tian's shoulder. This peacock's entire body was almost completely silver, especially its eyes, which were silvery white without any impurities. They looked abnormally cold. The most eye-catching was on its forehead. There was a 2-meter-long azure blue feather, trailing behind it, like a hairband fluttering in the wind. The little girl said crisply. Qingwan was startled and immediately said anxiously, "Miss, this brat, what kind of freak is he? Double blood meridians, a body like a bull. The level of his martial technique is not high, but his attainments are definitely like those old fellows who have studied for many years." The sound was like thunder echoing in the air. Tang Tian's figure suddenly disappeared. Poof. The opponent's blood meridians were very unique. His aura was concealed perfectly, just that. He was hit by the peacock's feathered armor, and a trace of the peacock's energy entered the opponent's body. This trace of energy was not completely dissolved, and became the best target, allowing the peacock to easily find the opponent's hiding place. One day, the peacock will be proud to have fought alongside him. Suddenly, a silver figure appeared in front of him without any warning. Tang Tian felt that the blood meridians were mostly used to raise the quality of the body, but he did not expect that the blood meridians and martial techniques could be so perfectly combined. That was awakening. The green aura in Qingwan's eyes exploded, the sword in his hand shook, and his figure suddenly disappeared. Tang Tian immediately smiled. "Good student, since you said so, I'll give you face." Bing muttered to himself. Countless dazzling silver lights, with the aura as sharp as blades, like raindrops, swept out in all directions with a loud bang. "You dare to sneak an attack on me, you must be tired of living." The others were all dumbstruck by this sudden turn of events. Ling Su looked at the imposing Tang Tian and subconsciously tightened his grip on the silver spear in his hand. Tang Tian snorted, turned to face Qingwan, and suddenly raised his right arm. "Come, let's have a good fight." After being shocked, he became even more furious. Behind the cross door, Qingwan was startled. Qingwan looked at Tang Tian in front of her. This person, so strong. Silver lights danced in the sky. It was extremely beautiful, and she then saw the silver lights clearly. Each ray of silver light was actually a silver sheet. "What was that?" Bing said calmly. "Actually, your luck is not bad, although you have become a spirit general, but your martial techniques and peacock are still there and can still fight." The peacock squatted on Tang Tian's shoulder. The silver armor on Tang Tian's body was its feathers. There was actually an armor. It was actually a silver armor. Someone sneak attacked. Qingwan was curious. When the last silver light flew out, Qingwan's arm actually felt sore, and her heart could not help but be overwhelmed with shock. Wavering sword wings was her true killing technique. In the residence, she used this technique and had never lost. Even Marquis personally praised her technique. Her wavering sword wings was actually suppressed by someone. Ghost Claw did not move, only in its eyes, there seemed to be something quietly surging. The elder who sneaked an attack on Tang Tian never thought that he would meet with such a situation. The dazzling silver light pierced his eyes, causing his vision to become white. Wavering sword wings. Everyone who witnessed this scene had an extremely strange feeling in their hearts. Qingwan's body was like a puppet, retreating step by step. Retreating inch by inch, it was as though the scene was stuck. But in the competition in the residence, among the same age, the number of people who could beat her could be counted with one's fingers. The elder's eyes opened wide and quickly lost their luster. The elder was extremely shocked. He suddenly jumped up, turned and was about to escape. Suddenly his neck felt pain. A silver-armored hand grabbed onto his neck. A spot of silver light blossomed from the depths of Tang Tian's eyes and immediately exploded from his body. The elder's face changed. He quickly retreated. The incoming silver light rain made him instinctively feel danger. His soft and seemingly boneless body suddenly curled up into a ball and quickly rolled backwards. Tang Tian suddenly crouched down and said in a low voice. From then on, he was disheartened, returned to Phylan Star, and never left Phylan Star again. Suddenly, a petite figure jumped into the arena. It was a young lady. "Come, the peacock young duo, we are invincible. Whoever dares to resist, we will beat them till they piss in their pants." Kacha. How did he find out? The silver light that filled the sky suddenly drew out countless of dazzling straight silver lines, shooting towards Tang Tian. However, Qingwan's feelings were completely different. Tang Tian was indeed in a difficult situation. There were many times when she thought that she was going to win, but she did not expect that Tang Tian would always use an unimaginable method to escape the calamity. Tang Tian looked like he was about to fall, but he never fell. Tang Tian retreated step by step. Qingwan's sword aura was extremely agile, as though it was alive. It was the first time he encountered such a unique and agile sword aura. Even with his amazing intuition, for a moment he was still in a passive situation. A silver light shot his back, his body shook, and a cold and fierce aura, from the point of the silver light, seeped into his body. Zhai Hengzhan's eyes quickly turned into envy and jealousy. Marquis Wu also had a silver armor, but that was only owned by Marquis Wu. Other than that, only a few people had bronze armor, and Zhai Hengzhan was not even qualified to have a bronze armor. When I enter the saber-toothed tiger, I always feel absent-minded, remembering the past battles, as if it was yesterday. Qingwan, do you want to disobey my orders? The young lady looked at Qingwan calmly. Tang Tian's strength was already so strong. Now with the help of the silver armor, his strength had improved by leaps and bounds. She was definitely no match for him. Just now, when the feather armor hit him, that cold and hard aura seeped into his body, and he actually suffered light injuries. This also caused him to lose all confidence. His golden snake blood meridians could perfectly conceal his aura, He had used this move to resolve many dangerous situations. He decided to find an opportunity later and immediately leave the Gu family. He wanted to leave this scary place. Tang Tian felt the surging and quiet power from the peacock. A smile blossomed on the corner of his mouth, like a ripple, quickly spreading into laughter. A pair of green sword aura wings formed on her back at a speed visible to the naked eye. Her body suddenly became light, both her feet left the ground, and she actually forcibly floated in the air. When he saw clearly that it was a silver armor, he was scared out of his wits. He had seen the power of a silver armor with his own eyes. When he went out to roam the world, he had seen a strong warrior wearing a silver armor, in the blink of an eye, killed a martial artist whose reputation far surpassed his. Qingwan was furious, but the young lady giggled. "Teacher, let's make a deal. I will use 2 million star coins to settle this matter. How about it?" "You came at the right time." Tang Tian instantly felt a strong sense of danger, and almost at the same time, a weak and almost undetectable flow of air flowed around him. Tang Tian's pupils suddenly widened. Qingwan, who was in the air with her sword wings spread, with every impact, her body would retreat an inch. Tang Tian's body was once again enveloped by the dazzling silver light. Not good. A strong killing intent enveloped Tang Tian's heart. In that instant, Tang Tian was unusually calm. "Are you ready?" He made a prompt decision, and before anyone could react, he quietly slipped to a corner and hid. Tang Tian's fearless roar could be heard by everyone. Chapter 179. Tang Tian was secretly moved, because he did not have a level 6 mental cultivation technique. He could only use level 5 true power to break through this barrier. A level 6 mental cultivation technique spirit card was extremely expensive. Tang Tian was now extremely poor, naturally he could not afford it. And he was extremely clear of the importance of mental cultivation techniques. For example, the crane-style Qi Manual's crane body energy, the 4 heavenly dragons' heavenly dragon energy, were all his important attacking methods. The meridians in his body flowed with pure and abundant true power. They were like an army, under Tang Tian's urging, continuously following the heaven stairway, going against the flow, unceasingly attacking the Dantian barrier. She could not help but be secretly annoyed. These few days, she actually did not ask Tian about it. Qingwan was shocked. She was not considered arrogant, but because the princess was wronged, the anger was stuck in her chest. Xianxia was different from her. Xianxia had the experience of fighting in the front lines and had many military achievements. In the residence, Xianxia was extremely respected. Suddenly, the seemingly relaxed true power suddenly activated. The true power stacked layer by layer. The loose true power, in a flash, was like a crane's beak, fiercely pecking the barrier. He could feel his own strength had an obvious increase, and even his strength had a slight increase. Tang Tian's heart shook, and the previously unmoving barrier suddenly trembled. Seeing that Qingwan still had an unconvinced expression, Xianxia sighed and said softly, "He already had the intention to kill just now. You have to be careful, don't provoke him." Tang Tian began his hellish training. Suddenly, Tang Tian's heart was enlightened. Tang Tian opened his eyes. He was touched. Not enough strength. An even bigger, even wider Dantian pool was like a dried-up lake, waiting for the rain to pour in. If the 5th-level Dantian pool was like a pond, then the 6th-level Dantian pool was like a small-sized lake. The Tier 6 Dantian pool was filled up bit by bit. The newly born Dantian pool that received nourishment began to glow with vitality. The meridians that were connected to the 6th-level Dantian pool started to have true power pouring in. The indescribable feeling of comfort almost made Tang Tian moan. With every peck, the barrier trembled violently. Xianxia didn't avoid Qingwan's gaze. He said lightly, "Why wouldn't he dare?" Rich energy frantically surged into Tang Tian's body and flowed upstream along the heaven stairway. At this time, Tang Tian was constantly attacking the barrier to the 6th order. The martial spirit allowed him to have a deeper understanding of the world, and the true power allowed him to have a higher level of control over his body. The true power flowed along the meridians and flowed into every corner of his body. All the previously dried up and unknown corners were slowly being activated, bit by bit brimming with life. When every corner of the body was continuously awakened and activated by the true power, the fleshly body would continuously be perfected. There was nothing more touching than vitality. However, the princess's mysterious teacher had yet to show himself. The young martial artist with the silver armor, all the patriarchs missed the battle. But what Tang Tian didn't expect was that his true power became stronger, and the barrier also became stronger. No matter how he attacked, the barrier did not move an inch. Ding. Almost at the same time, Bing, who had been paying close attention to Tang Tian, did not say a word, and crushed a total of 26th-level star rocks. The energy in the entire room was so dense that it was almost tangible. In the sky above the Valley of Starvation, Tang Tian's wails never stopped. Every day was like hell. He did not waste any time and wholeheartedly immersed himself in training. Even Bing, who was always strict with training, could not find any faults. These local tyrants may have some arrogance in front of the Star Master, but no one dared to put on any airs in front of Princess Mingzhu. The Star Master was just one of Marquis Wu's subordinates, while Princess Mingzhu was the pearl in Marquis Wu's palm. In front of Marquis Wu, they were like ants. These patriarchs who were chatting and laughing did not show any mercy. This method was effective. The little girl said gently, "He is after all my teacher. If you guys fight too much, I will be very vexed." Tang Tian, who was encouraged, did not say a word, and continued to use the crane body energy to instigate true power. In order to express goodwill to the Gu family, the Yu family became the target of everyone's exclusion. Old Man Yu's foolish actions brought about a calamity to the Yu family. The Yu family's various industries were continuously attacked and quickly withered. The martial artists that the Yu family raised all escaped, and the Yu family disciples would always suffer from unknown attacks. Gu Shui did not mention money. She was very clear, even if she said it, Tian would not want it. Although Tian had always looked foolish and stupid, but in his heart he understood everything. Tang Tian did not have a level 6 mental cultivation technique in his hands, so he used another method. "Wait a minute, that's not right." Tian said he was not from Onyx Soul. Gu Shui was completely confused. But she quickly threw this question to the back of her head. She noticed another detail. Tian seemed to be short of money. Tang Tian did not have time to rejoice. Suddenly his entire body trembled, and his head exploded. The guy that Tang Tian killed, the golden snake blood meridians, was sold for 1,000,000 star coins. Tang Tian used all his assets, through the Gu family's channels, to buy 200 pieces of level 6 star rocks. Gu Shui heard that Tang Tian needed star rocks. Without saying a word, she gave Tang Tian 100 pieces of level 6 star rocks. The world seemed to have changed again, although the change was not as intense as when Tang Tian cultivated the silver martial spirit, but the new change was clear and enchanting. True power quickly poured into the 6th-level Dantian pool, nourishing the 6th-level Dantian pool. Silver armor, double blood meridians. With these 2 points, it was enough to laugh proudly at Phylan's star. Furthermore, Tang Tian was still very young. His future would definitely be bright. The frequency of the pecking became more and more intense. The frequency of the barrier shaking also became more and more intense. Life. Zhai Hengzhan glanced at the joyous Tang Tian in the distance and said softly, "He is very dangerous." "That's right, 2,000,000 star coins. Tian has earned big." Gu Shui covered her mouth and chuckled. Tian would not accept star coins, but he could give things as gifts. If mental cultivation, blood meridians, martial techniques and armor could be perfectly combined, then his strength would increase greatly. Tang Tian held on to the idea that it was better to have nothing than to have something shoddy, but to first break through to the 6th level, it would also allow his strength to increase by leaps and bounds. The Gu family regained its peace, and the various patriarchs also rushed over. Princess Mingzhu was extremely intelligent. She was used to big scenes, and was not the slightest bit reserved. Gu Shui had activated the snow rainbow blood meridians. Her future was bright, and most importantly, she had a powerful friend like Tang Tian. Gu Shui found Tang Tian and immediately asked, "Tian, are you short of money?" Probably even Gu Shui did not expect that, after 3 months, the once illustrious Yu family would actually disappear without a trace. These few days, he had improved greatly, the true power in his body was unprecedentedly strong, and this gave Tang Tian a lot of confidence. Tang Tian's control of the crane body energy was almost instinctive. With a thought, he could see the true power slowly moving, pushing forward layer by layer. All the true power in Tang Tian's body was piled up in front of the barrier. Tang Tian's heart suddenly moved. He thought of the crane body energy. It seemed that in terms of true power, he was always at a disadvantage, but the crane body energy allowed his attacks, the impact was stronger. The training of true power was a continuous process of developing and activating oneself. Was this the 6th level? Had he broken through? With Tang Tian's relationship, the relationship between the Gu family and Marquis Wu would be extremely close. Tang Tian said proudly, I'm not short of money now. Wah, 2 million star coins, one fight would be 2 million star coins, I really hope to have fights every day. But no one would be unsatisfied. In the blink of an eye, Tang Tian had 306th level stars in his hands. Suddenly, ping, like the sound of glass shattering, the surging true power, suddenly flowed against the current. Qingwan flattened her mouth, she was about to cry, although she and the princess were master and servant, but in reality, they were like sisters. The combination of Qingwan's blood meridians and martial techniques gave him a lot of inspiration. The battle that ended in such a way made everyone feel extremely weird. Only then did people notice the 7 or 8-year-old girl who was unusually mature. From the manner she displayed and Qingwan's attitude towards her, they could tell that she was from an extraordinary background. And those who were quick-witted vaguely guessed the young girl's background, although they tried their best to remain calm, but the shock in their eyes could not be concealed no matter what. Tang Tian, who was in meditation, his dantian and meridians were like a whirlpool, with a strong suction force, the surrounding rich energy was being sucked into his body at an astonishing speed. Qingwan's eyes widened, she said in disbelief, "Don't tell me he dares to kill me?" Tang Tian felt as though his body, like a withered tree, was being nourished by the rain, it was cheering. But this invisible barrier was abnormally tough. No matter how much Tang Tian urged his true power, it did not budge. The young girl said meaningfully, "I suddenly feel that he might be a good teacher." No matter where, a teacher should never be casually acknowledged. Whether it was the traditional inheritance of a teacher and a student, or the current inheritance of an academy, teacher was an extremely serious title. They suddenly thought of the way the young girl addressed Tang Tian. They could no longer maintain their calm expressions. "Miss." Qingwan's eyes became misty, her face full of grievance. The suction force of Tang Tian's dantian and meridians became stronger and stronger, his efficiency of absorbing energy continued to rise. And after solving the worry of the star rocks, Tang Tian's improvement was extremely fast. No wonder. Tian is so powerful. Not enough power. Dang dang dang. But immediately, Gu Shui's heart was filled with a weird feeling. Tian's age was too young. Suddenly, the scene of Tang Tian shaking his head and giving pointers to Princess Mingzhu suddenly appeared in her mind, and she could not help but laugh. Success. That was the wall of perfection. Princess Mingzhu secretly supported the Gu family, and the Gu family's influence rose in a straight line. All the patriarchs knew, in the future, the Gu family would definitely become one of the most important powers on Phylan Star. They could definitely break through the barrier. Gu Shui looked at Tang Tian in a daze, although she had many guesses about Tang Tian's background, but she never thought that Tang Tian was actually Princess Mingzhu's teacher. Wait a minute. Teacher. Chapter 180. The others were attracted by Ling Su's surprise, and all turned to look. Ling Su carried his silver spear and walked straight towards a patch of dense shrubs. The shrubs did not seem to have any abnormalities and grew on a steep hillside. A 17-year-old 6th level. But Tang Tian insisted that he come, and towards Tang Tian's shamelessness, he was helpless. This fellow was an unscrupulous scoundrel. like coming to cause trouble during cultivation, he would definitely do something like that. The others gathered around at this time. Sword marks could still be seen on the stone steps. "Miss, there's something strange here. When do we set off?" Tang Tian asked impatiently. He had just broken through to the 6th level. He couldn't wait to show off his skills. They looked at Tang Tian as if they were looking at a monster. Stepping into the 6th level at the age of 17, if he wasn't a monster, what was he? Looking at the winding stone steps in the shrubs, everyone suddenly realized this exploration did not seem to be as easy as they had imagined. Xianxia's expression froze on his face, and at the same time, the faces of the others froze as well. Those who had originally only heard that there was a very powerful young man who was the princess teacher, but this conversation immediately shocked everyone present. The young lady was a little surprised. Gu Shue's family background was far inferior to hers. But Gu Shue's intelligence surprised the young lady. The young lady had seen all kinds of schemes since she was young, and was exceptionally sensitive in this aspect. If there really was a brown cloud vein, out of everyone present, only the Gu family would be able to develop it. Because only a local power like the Gu family would be able to excavate the vein. And on account of Tang Tian, everyone would definitely not fight with Gu Shue for it. There's a treasure? Tang Tian's spirit was lifted. At this time, why would they follow a young lady to explore danger? It was a waste of time. The family itself also had a huge need for money. If they could open up a stable source of income to the family, it would be a very good thing. However, he was also surprised by Gu Shue's means. He wouldn't be surprised at all if it were those old fellows who were experienced in the ways of the world. However, Gu Shue was so mature at such a young age. The Gu family must be very powerful in the future. Xianxia perked up. He was different from Qingwan. Qingwan had been an orphan since she was young. She could be considered a real member of the family, so money did not mean much to her. As for Xianxia, he had his own family to begin with. Making his family live a better life was an unavoidable responsibility for him. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. Everyone was very clear about Ling Su's strength. Even Ling Su's expression was somewhat ugly. The toughness of the brown stone was far beyond his imagination. How difficult would it be to use a sword to carve out a flight of stairs from such a hard brown stone? Xianxia was still trying his best. The martial artist who had carved out this flight of stairs was far more powerful than all of them. Princess Mingzhu's eyes lit up. A 17-year-old 6th-level martial artist was rarely seen. However, thinking about the upcoming adventure, her eyes shone even brighter. Her heart was filled with anticipation. Ding! Tang Tian stopped in his tracks. This form of address gave him goosebumps. He laughed it off. "Just call me Tian. And I just broke through to the 6th level." "Teacher Tang." Ling Su hugged his silver spear and squatted down to examine it carefully. No wonder he could become Princess Mingzhu's teacher. Everyone felt relieved. The gazes that gathered on Tang Tian immediately changed from curiosity to reverence. The path of cultivation was to pursue power and strength. But in the end, it was still a pursuit of self-perfection. It was the deepest desire in the human's heart to continuously improve. Guzhou Mountain? Gu Shue's expression was a little strange. What a beautiful world. He turned and walked out. There's a flight of stairs here? Tang Tian was surprised. Looks like someone really lived here in the past. They even built a flight of stairs. When she said this, her face was filled with longing. Ling Su, who was carrying his silver spear and walking into the yard, unintentionally raised his head and saw Tang Tian's slightly raised face in the sunlight. His body couldn't help but tremble. His face was filled with shock. Tang Tian, who was in the sunlight, seemed to melt into the sunlight. He was clearly in front of him, but he couldn't feel Tang Tian's aura. Suddenly, his pupils constricted. He said in a low voice, "This was cut with a sword." Gu Shue's eyes curved up. She resisted the urge to laugh. The others picked up the brown stone and held it in their hands. Ling Su and the rest's expressions changed. Everyone's gaze turned towards the mountain in front of them. Their expressions became ugly. Especially Xianxia and Qingwan, they immediately showed signs of hesitation. Tang Tian was stunned. He hurriedly went over. It's true. He actually used a sword to cut out a flight of stairs. This person is so powerful. Yes, it's very possible. Because this martial artist has no students. He lived here alone until he grew old. The little girl was well prepared. I've always wanted to explore Buzhou Mountain. Who knows, there might be some hidden treasures. Tang Tian couldn't help but be moved. There's something strange about this stone. Tang Tian honestly said, I'm 17 this year. Only Ling Su was slightly unconcerned. He rested his silver spear on his shoulder with a face full of dissatisfaction. He actually didn't want to come. Tang Tian breaking through to level 6 had increased the pressure on him. These days, he had been training with all his might. Thinking about such a monster, with a silver armor and dual blood meridians, everyone's heart skipped a beat. The entire hall was filled with the sound of people inhaling cold air. When Tang Tian walked out of the room, the sunlight outside made him stop in his tracks. Bathing in the sunlight, he quietly stood there, experiencing an indescribable emotion. He decided to spend the day training. Tang Tian was curious, what's so special about it? This kind of motivation was like the billions of stars in heaven's road. It existed since ancient times. From the day humans were born, it had existed. This is Buzhou Mountain? Tang Tian was curious. Looking at the mountain from afar, there was nothing strange about it. He bent down and picked up a brown stone. The stone was heavy and hard. But what attracted Tang Tian's attention was that the stone was actually disrupting the true power in his body. The young lady curled her lips. If it's not strange, why are we exploring? She paused, then continued. This brown stone is called brown cloudstone, but the quality is not high. High-quality brown cloudstones are close to being translucent and are very expensive. Sister Shui, maybe there's a brown cloudstone vein here. Ling Su suddenly took out his silver spear and pierced the brown stone at the side. Gu Shui was suddenly interested. Pure brown cloudstones were very expensive. If they could have a high-quality brown cloudstone vein, then the Gu family would not be short of money. Most importantly, Buzhou Mountain was an ownerless land. It did not belong to any family or powerhouse. Anytime. The young lady squealed and jumped up high. This is my big discovery. The young lady raised her head and said proudly, once, I accidentally saw a record of Buzhou Mountain in a travel book. The person who wrote the travel book had personally explored Buzhou Mountain and talked about many interesting things. He suspected that there might be treasures there. He also looked up a lot of information. In history, there used to be a powerful martial artist who lived in seclusion there. That martial artist was hurt by love, and every night he would cry in sorrow. The name of Buzhou Mountain was given by him. Gu Shui nodded and looked serious. That is a very strange place. Buzhou Mountain is very large. Every night there will be strange sounds, but no one knows what makes the sounds. There used to be a rumor that there was a powerful martial artist living in seclusion on Buzhou Mountain, and this rumor has been circulating for a long time. Some people wanted to explore Buzhou Mountain, but people often went missing inside, and it was very dangerous. Tang Tian turned his face and asked the young lady in confusion, why did you want to come to this place? Ling Su pushed the bushes away with his silver spear, and an abandoned stone step was revealed. Moreover, with Marquis Wu's financial resources, the young lady did not care about a brown cloudstone vein at all. But Gu Shui could propose it first, which was quite commendable to the young lady. It's better to call him Master Tang. Zhai Hengzhan insisted. He did not dare to call him Tian, because he had to show enough respect to the princess's teacher. He was pleasantly surprised. Master Tang, you are over 25 years old this year. You are so young, but you have stepped into the 6th rank. It really makes me feel ashamed. If it's true, that's great. Gu Shui smiled and said, if we can really find it, it will be everyone's credit, and everyone will have a share. Tang Tian and the others came to the foot of a towering mountain. The mountain was bare, full of rocks, weeds, and shrubs, looking very desolate, without any sense of beauty. Ling Su's eyes suddenly narrowed. Ling Su recovered from the shock, and his expression returned to normal. The flame in his orange-red eyes flickered, and he snorted. Lose to you? Don't dream. Tang Tian suddenly woke up from the strange state just now, and immediately noticed the existence of Ling Su. He grinned and said, Ling Su, I am at the 6th rank. Young man, you have to work hard. Thank you, Sister Shui. The young lady smiled sweetly. As soon as the banquet was over, the young lady began to plan the adventure. In Tang Tian's eyes, there was a heartfelt joy and happiness. Mao Buzhou. The young lady cheered and jumped with excitement. Zhai Hengzhan and Qingwan looked at each other helplessly and smiled. When they found that the princess had sneaked out, they were extremely nervous. But they did not dare to make it public, and they searched all the way. Fortunately, they found the princess soon. Zhai Hengzhan smiled and said, Then you must find her. Even I am tempted. When Tang Tian appeared in front of everyone, Zhai Hengzhan was the first to notice the change in Tang Tian. He raised his thick eyebrows, stood up, and asked in disbelief, Did Master Tang break through? Sparks flew, and only a shallow hole the size of a Yellowstone was left. Tang Tian was very straightforward about what he had already promised. Where are you going? Chapter 181. Tang Tian quickly shook his head. Forget it, with his brain, it was almost impossible to dig out the secrets here. It was more practical to think about how to find the treasures. This was the first time Tang Tian heard of Wang Yong's name, but he did not dare to underestimate him. Grandmaster-level sword technique, these 5 words seemed to have an indescribable magic that intimidated people's hearts. In every era, any martial artist who possessed a Grandmaster-level martial technique, no matter what rank he was at, was definitely an expert that could not be ignored in that era. Ling Su, whose fighting spirit was burning, suddenly felt as if he had swallowed a fly. He turned his face and said angrily, Shouldn't the main point be to learn from such a resolute senior, Slayer Sword Demon, to reflect on your own shortcomings and work hard to become stronger? Why is it that what you reflect on is arithmetic? Sure enough, the poor were scholars while the rich were martial artists. To speed up one's cultivation, earning money was a must. Tang Tian, this ignorant youth, seemed to have been enlightened overnight. He knew the benefits of star coins, and the source of all this was still cultivation. Ling Su's gaze suddenly became firm and deep. What made everyone even more excited was the treasures. Everyone increased their speed and went up the stone stairs. At this moment, his silver martial spirit suddenly jumped. Tang Tian immediately regained his senses. Why are you in front and I'm behind? Ling Su said unhappily, but he still walked to the back of the group. Tang Tian did not notice the change in Ling Su. He said while drooling, This really makes people full of energy. Let's speed up. For a moment, no one spoke. Everyone was shocked. That lonely figure waving his sword day after day is your role model. Tang Tian suddenly had an illusion. The dense sword marks above his head and around him were like a large net, covering his head. The sword intent was dense, and he actually had a feeling that there was nowhere to escape. After a long time, everyone regained their senses. Tang Tian shook his head. No. I will still walk the path of a close-quarters combat expert or fist techniques. Using fists is more enjoyable. Didn't you say that he matured slowly? I'm guessing that this senior Wang must have spent the past 20 years building the stone staircase here to hone his monarch slaying sword. However, monarch slaying sword could definitely be sold for a good price. Famous things can always be sold for a good price. The surroundings of the cave were crisscrossed with many sword scars, a ghastly sight to behold. Although some of the sword marks had already become blurry due to the erosion of the wind, those crisscrossing sword marks still made people feel the sharp sword intent. Everyone felt as if they had just woken up from a dream. When the confusion on their faces disappeared, everyone's faces turned pale. Gu Shue's abilities had improved by leaps and bounds recently. After activating her snow rainbow bloodline, she had yet to fully digest the sudden burst of power. Even so, her strength had become much stronger in an instant. The rainbow light around her was faintly discernible. Her expression was also the most nervous. She had very little combat experience. However, for such a person to be willing to spend the rest of his life in the unknown Buzhou Mountain, there must be many unknown secrets. Of course there will be. Ever since Sword Demon Slayer achieved great success in his swordsmanship, he came out to roam the world and amassed a large amount of wealth and treasures. All of these things had disappeared along with his seclusion. The reason why he was called a demon, other than his cold personality and killing without batting an eye, was also because he was greedy. He had an extraordinary obsession with wealth and treasures. Hence, many people thought that Sword Demon Slayer was born in poverty. The young lady was even more excited and eager to give it a try. The adventure that she had spent so much effort to find was indeed very powerful. No one cared about Tang Tian's money. They were stunned by Tang Tian's bold conjecture about building the stone staircase to train his swordsmanship. The more they thought about it, the more they felt that it was possible. Walking to the entrance of the cave, a gust of cold wind suddenly blew out from the cave. Tang Tian quivered and could not help but shiver. Not only him, everyone else shivered as well. Tang Tian and Ling Su looked at each other. Both of them could see the vigilance in each other's eyes. Ling Su's silver spear that was originally on his shoulder quietly moved to his hand. Slaying Sword Demon. Xianxia cried out in shock. Tang Tian looked at Ling Su strangely and said, as a matter of fact, "You still need to reflect on yourself in order to work hard? Aren't martial artists supposed to be like that?" Ling Su choked. Upon thinking about the treasures, Tang Tian could not help but smile. Very long. Ling Su suddenly spoke, his voice was filled with respect. "At least 10 years of hard work. I think I know who this senior is." 70,000 steps. Suddenly the young lady spoke, her tone was filled with shock. "Let's go in and take a look. I am looking forward to it more and more." Tang Tian rubbed his palms together. This teacher of his could even say such words. How bad was his arithmetic skills? His heart was overwhelmed with shock. Tang Tian's eyes lit up. Then would there be something left behind by Senior Wang here? Grandmaster level, Tang Tian was not unfamiliar with this. Ghost Claw had a Grandmaster level claw technique. A Grandmaster level martial artist, if he were to fight with a non-Grandmaster level martial artist of the same level, it would definitely be like chopping vegetables. Even if the opponent was 2 levels higher than him, he would still be able to contend against him. This was the strength of a Grandmaster-level martial technique. Zhai Hengzhan, Qing Wan and Gu Shui, the 3 of them protected Princess Mingzhu in the middle. Looking at the others, their faces were filled with pain. Tang Tian knew the situation was dangerous and did not care about anything else. He gathered his true power and shouted, "Everyone be careful." Unknowingly, the atmosphere became more solemn. Tang Tian and Ling Su felt it even more deeply. The long stone staircase in front of them had a kind of power that went straight to their hearts. Even after experiencing the tempering of time, the senior's radiance was still so dazzling. And to defeat that traitor, they had to train the pointed C spear to the Grandmaster level. To be able to defeat the Grandmaster level pointed C spear, only the Grandmaster level pointed C spear could be defeated. Ling Su, that is your target. Be careful. Zhai Hengzhan lowered his voice. He had been to the front lines before and was extremely experienced. The few of them were not weak, but the wind could actually make them shiver. It was a little strange. Walking into the cave, everyone then realized the 4 walls of the cave were all densely packed and messy sword scars. I wonder how long this senior back then used to carve out such a long stone staircase. The young lady was fascinated. She was always filled with curiosity towards the unknown history. Everyone revealed a moved expression, turned and looked down. The 70,000 steps of the stone staircase were densely packed. It was a sight to behold. After increasing their speed, everyone quickly reached the end of the stone staircase. The stone staircase did not lead to the peak, but to a cave entrance halfway up the mountain, and stopped abruptly. Ling Su could not help but raise his head to look at the stone staircase. His orange-red pupils were filled with fighting spirit. He grabbed the silver spear tightly and said in a deep voice, "That's right. A Grandmaster-level martial technique, without countless of training, how can it be mastered?" Originally, he was only jealous of Demon Slayer's treasures, but now he was filled with interest towards this Demon Slayer that he had never met before. This was indeed a guy with a lot of character. Tang Tian seemed to have comprehended a killing technique for every martial technique, but until now, he was still far away from a Grandmaster-level martial technique. Although the wind in the cave was cold, but it was not as strong as outside, the degree of erosion of the sword scars was lower, and the preservation was more complete. The cave entrance was like a messy and dense net, with a piece missing in the middle. Ling Su, you can definitely do it. Grandmaster level, touched upon the essence of the martial technique, they could usually create their own martial technique. This wind is really cold. The young lady mumbled. Qingwan immediately took out thick clothes and covered the young lady. Even Tang Tian, who had a face full of arrogance just now, looked up and was somewhat entranced. The sword scars were very messy, the sword intent was very sharp, and one could feel the resentment in the sword carver's heart at that time. In the surroundings of the cave, there was actually not a single piece that was intact. On every piece of rock, there were numerous terrifying sword scars that sliced it into countless pieces. Just at this moment, Tang Tian suddenly saw something from the corner of his eyes, flashing and disappearing in the depths of the cave. Suddenly, Tang Tian pointed to the top of the cave with a face full of surprise. Quickly look, over there. I will walk in front of the group, Ling Su will guard the back. Tang Tian said in a deep voice. Tang Tian's words received the unanimous approval of everyone. Although everyone was shocked by the shocking stone staircase, but among them, the only one who trained in sword techniques was Qingwan. But Qingwan's sword techniques were light and agile. The monarch-slaying sword technique that was filled with power was completely not suitable for her. Ling Su was silent for a moment. If I'm not wrong, this senior should be the demon-slaying sword, Senior Wang Yong. Tang Tian's eyes emitted a green light. He even thought of selling it to the martial artists in the Honorable Martial Alliance. All of them were rich. In the past, he also knew that star rocks could help with true power, but he had never personally experienced it, but this time he experienced it deeply. Not knowing why, Tang Tian glanced at Ling Su. He felt that the two of them were very similar on this point. The stone staircase was simple and unadorned, it did not have any patterns, and was even somewhat rough, but it meandered upwards. One could not see the end, giving everyone an unparalleled sense of shock. Thinking about the martial artist back then, his lonely figure walking along Buzhou Mountain, using the long sword in his hand, he carved out the astonishing stone staircase one slash at a time. The stone staircase had not been visited for a long time, it was covered with dense shrubs, everyone cut their way through, rushing up the mountain. He could endure loneliness, but his temper was extremely violent. Only Tang Tian had a face of envy. Good math. Tang Tian's eyes lit up. Wow, treasures, treasures. That's right, there's also his monarch-slaying sword technique. Everyone looked at Ling Su in shock, especially Princess Mingzhu. She thought she was very knowledgeable, but even she could not find out the identity of the senior, but Ling Su actually knew. The young lady had a strange look on her face. Don't tell me teacher wants to train in sword techniques? However, she did not suffer in vain during this period of time. Her mental fortitude was much stronger than before. Not only him, Gu Shui and Qingwan's face changed, but the young lady's eyes suddenly lit up. She seemed to have thought of something and said excitedly, that's right, it's very possible. Demon-slaying sword, Wang Yong, a late bloomer, became famous at 40 years old. His sword techniques were unique, famous for slashing. He created monarch-slaying sword, a grandmaster-level sword technique martial artist. He ran amok for 10 years, and then disappeared. It was said that he was hurt by love. Seems like he will most likely return here to die of old age. The young lady was speechless. You call that math? Chapter 182. The 18 Black Sword Auras, instantly shattered. Zhai Hengzhan was startled. Tang Tian was actually so confident, it made him feel surprised. If not for the past few days of interaction, he knew that although Tang Tian was careless at times, but he was never careless in battle, he would definitely suspect that Tang Tian was purposely watching from the side. Xianxia's face revealed a look of shock. He had fought with Ling Su before. He had a rough idea of Ling Su's strength, but the standard of Ling Su's spear, compared to when he fought with him, had actually become stronger. Looking from here, the inside of the cave was pitch black. But for some reason, Tang Tian had an illusion that in the pitch-black cave, there seemed to be a pair of eyes secretly watching them. Xianxia and Qingwan also seemed to be unable to let go. The attack was ineffective. Ling Su was even more furious. The 6 spirit generals gave him immense pressure, but he did not give up on the idea of letting Tang Tian and the rest help. He only had one thought in his mind: faster, faster. A dazzling cold light, like a shooting star, flew and landed on the black sword circle. Tang Tian glanced at it and said indifferently, "Don't look down on Ling Su, these few rascals are not his match." Behind the silver sea of spears, it was as though a red sun had lit up. The 6 spirit generals raised the swords in their hands in unison and pounced towards the group. But he had no time to be distracted. The 6 spirit generals in front of him, although they were stopped by him, but the pressure they gave him was equally huge. He had to be fully focused to be able to stabilize the situation. The pointed sea spears were slowly being nibbled away by the black sword auras. He was completely immersed in his every movement. The 6 spirit general sword techniques were extremely exquisite. The power of the black sword auras was not considered strong, but the coordination of the 6 spirit generals was truly too ingenious. He felt that it was inconceivable. Could it be that the people around Tang Tian were all perverts? The sound of small rocks hitting the stone walls came out from the depths of the cave. Gu Shui chuckled and translated. He said it was too delicious. The black circle of swords was like a piece of paper, silently annihilated. The 6 spirit generals did not even have time to escape, and were engulfed by the blazing silver light. The pointed sea spear brazenly engulfed 6 spirit generals. There were still sword scars everywhere. The messy and dense sword scars made people feel an invisible pressure. Having learned their lesson last time, no one dared to look closely. Although the mountain was deep and serene, it was not pitch black. The rocks on the 4 walls were mixed with specks of sand. These specks of sand emitted a faint light. Although it was not as bright as day, it was enough for everyone. Tang Tian widened his eyes, trying to see clearly, but no matter how hard he tried, the darkness was still so deep that he couldn't see anything. Suddenly, the scene before their eyes widened. They walked into a spacious hall that was about 20 feet in circumference. A silver-gray figure slowly floated in the air. He had to be faster. The team marched into the cave. Every spirit general released 3 black sword auras. 18 black sword auras were like 18 black swordfish, rushing towards the pointed sea spears. "It's bright star sand." The young lady glanced at it and said, "Other than being able to emit light, it has no use. It's not worth much." The heart-palpitating pointed sea spear struck the black circle of swords, but the circle did not move an inch. It was like a huge wave hitting a reef. The reef was majestic, but the huge wave suddenly dispersed. Ling Su's pressure started to increase, but he did not waver, and only continued to urge the pointed sea spears. Ling Su completely did not know that Tang Tian was making fun of him, and was gradually being suppressed. His anger was ignited. The orange-red pupils suddenly ignited, transforming into flames. Even his head full of silver hair became reckless, his entire aura exploding, filled with danger. The pointed sea spears suddenly exploded, the sky full of stars engulfed everything, and once again suppressed the 6 spirit generals. Ling Su has improved. Tang Tian could also see that Ling Su's strength had improved, so he simply sat down and called out to everyone, "Sit, sit, hey little Mingzhu, do you have anything to eat or drink? Quickly take it out." The sky full of pointed sea spears suddenly disappeared. Bang! Ding! The sound of the spears and swords clashing was as dense as rain. The 6 spirit generals seemed to have a telepathic connection, constantly changing their positions. Their coordination was ingenious. Inside the black sword aura, there was a gloomy and cold chi. The gloomy and cold chi seeped from the spear tip to the spear body. His 10 fingers could feel the chill. Ling Su was fuming. This group of people? are too despicable. Tang Tian was not the least bit afraid, and was eager to try. That means if we kill them all we can get the treasure? Chi. Isn't it a little bad for us to do this? The little girl asked hesitantly. Pursuing a shorter time to release his spears had always been Ling Su's goal. Suddenly he extended his leg and kicked, and a small stone shot out like an angry arrow, entering the cave. Xianxia was dumbstruck. The enraged Ling Su's fighting strength suddenly increased in all aspects. The cave was extremely deep, and the wind blowing out from inside was extremely cold. As they continued to enter, the temperature dropped rapidly, and frost started to form on the ground and the four walls. This brat became stronger. Suddenly, a gust of wind swept past him, and Xianxia regained his senses, only to see Tang Tian sprinting back. His eyes became a sea of fire, and with a roar, the silver spear in his hand suddenly disappeared. 18 black sword auras resonated with each other, complementing each other, as though they were one, faintly showing signs of breaking free from the pointed sea spears. The little girl said calmly, the price of a spirit pass guard is very high, and is usually used to guard those valuable treasures. To be able to guard the spirit pass, the strength of a spirit general is not low. Every cold aura's whistling sound became sharp, and the entire hall seemed to be enveloped by the monstrous waves of a hurricane, causing one's scalp to go numb, and the sharp whistling sound filled every corner. Xianxia and Qing Wan were dumbstruck. They had seen Tang Tian's power, so they did not pay too much attention to Ling Su. But when they saw Ling Su blocking 6 spirit generals with 1 spear, they were stunned. The 6 spirit generals in the pointed sea spears suddenly stood still and raised the swords in their hands. Faster! Ling Su was beginning to be suppressed. Under the silver light, the pitch-black cave was lit up, and a human figure could be seen. The endless pointed sea spears were like waves, becoming raging waves, and their power increased exponentially. Every cold aura in the pointed sea spears released a sharp chi-chi sound. All these sounds converged together, and the sound was like thunder. Seems like there's something. Tang Tian was roused and said softly, let's go in and take a look. Spirit pass guard. The little girl's face congealed and said, this is a very ancient checkpoint, and is usually used for protection and defense. To reach the final goal, we have to get rid of the spirit generals in every checkpoint. The further we go, the stronger it gets. Everyone be careful. Xianxia was dumbstruck. There was only one thought in his mind. This doesn't make sense. Xianxia opened his eyes wide and stared at Ling Su for a long time. But the more he looked, the more he felt that Ling Su would definitely lose. The scales were gradually tilting towards the 6 spirit generals, and the range of Ling Su's pointed sea spears was getting smaller and smaller. The space that the 6 spirit generals obtained was getting bigger and bigger, and the black water sword technique's power was starting to show. The 6 swords crisscrossed in the air, forming rays of black sword auras. The sword auras crisscrossed, forming a black sword circle, protecting them in the middle. Xianxia was completely unclear of the situation. He had never seen such a ridiculous scene before. Why did their fighting power suddenly increase? Could it be that Ling Su also had spirit generals? Meeting Tang Tian, Xianxia already felt like he was going crazy, meeting another one. What's wrong with this world? Xianxia and Qing Wan were completely stunned, and Tang Tian's wailing came into their ears. Ling Su, how can you hog it all for yourself? You're too wretched. You actually made the first move. Tang Tian, Ling Su, Gu Shui, Princess Mingzhu, Qing Wan and Xianxia, the 6 of them. Xianxia looked anxious. This is the black water sword technique. Ling Su's situation is not looking good. Spirit General. Could it be that Ling Su's spear technique? There was something mysterious that he did not notice? Ding ding ding. Ling Su snorted, his orange-red pupils flared with anger, his silver hair fluttered, his steel-like fingers rubbed together. Buzz, a low whistling sound came out. The red tassel on the spear tip was shaken into a red circle. Tang Tian frowned, his face revealing a look of suspicion. Justice Origin Core Pierce. Tang Tian and the rest sat on the luxurious and exquisite carpet, drinking hot tea and eating delicious snacks, as though they were having a picnic. Tang Tian's mouth was stuffed with snacks, and he wolfed them down. The rest of them were leisurely, showing their good upbringing. Suddenly, his pupils constricted. "Do not ever fight with him when he's angry," Tang Tian added. Ling Su, who could not hold back any longer, the spear in his hand suddenly shot out. The pointed sea spear suddenly appeared like a wave, instantly enveloping half of the hall. Gold-threaded white robe, silver spear, silver hair, red tassel and orange pupils, the vast power of the spear in his hand made Ling Su look heroic and extraordinary. It's only been a few days. Such a shocking improvement. This. Just at this time, Ling Su's roar suddenly came out. Tang Tian regained his senses, retracting his gaze, he looked at Ling Su. Little Ming Zhu and the other two were at a loss. After walking for about 15 minutes, the cave still did not show any signs of reaching the bottom. Tang Tian's gaze looked at the cave behind the spirit general. The three of them. Tang Tian completely ignored them, he only cared about stuffing food into his mouth, and said vaguely, "Today's death is too good, 7. Half a minute later, Ling Su's spear actually swept all 6 spirit generals in. The 6 spirit generals seemed to know that danger was approaching, they roared in unison and gathered together, forming a circle. The spirit general's face was blurred, holding onto a sword, he quietly floated there. Behind the spirit general, there was a dark cave entrance. When Tang Tian barged into the hall, the spirit general suddenly raised his head, and his body trembled. Tang Tian and the rest only saw a blur in front of their eyes. The spirit general actually transformed into 6 identical spirit generals, lined up in a row. Tang Tian, this is? Ling Su's attention was highly concentrated, the true power in his entire body surged to the maximum. He continuously tried to increase the speed of his spear. The most crucial point of the pointed sea spear was the time to release the spear. The shorter the time, the stronger the power of the pointed sea spear. Do you know what his nickname is? Tang Tian noticed that Zhai Hengzhan and the rest looked as though they were facing a formidable enemy, and immediately said proudly, "Ha! The furious Ling Su. As long as this brat is angry, he will be very terrifying." Pa. Zhai Hengzhan could not see that Ling Su had any chance of winning. He did not know why Tang Tian was so confident, but he was already prepared to make a move. Chapter 183. Suddenly, Xia thought about the last time he tried to kill Gu Shui, but Tang Tian managed to escape. Of course, he felt that it was luck, and part of it was luck. But this time, he finally understood Tang Tian was able to escape his sneak attack twice, and it was definitely not luck that could explain it. Today's trap was his tried and tested move. He did not expect. Tang Tian actually sensed it. Xia's power was much stronger than what Tang Tian had imagined, and he was an expert in making use of the environment, and his attacking methods were very sinister, making it hard to defend. The thin sword and the boulder palm print clashed. Tang Tian felt a wave of sharp true power drilling into his palm. His body trembled, but his true power quickly dissipated the burst of true power. The unstoppable palm print pressed forward, causing the slender sword to crumble inch by inch. Tang Tian's heart turned cold, but his reaction was equally fast. The blue feather belt that was always fluttering behind him suddenly rolled back, the tip of the feather belt as straight as a sword. When Ling Su and the rest rushed over, Xia's strange chuckle was still lingering in the pitch-black cave, lingering in the air. The narrow space caused the power of this move to increase exponentially. The two of them exchanged blows in the time it takes for a spark to fly off a flint, but at this time, the rest of the people had also rushed to the cave entrance. Chia knew that he could not do anything. With a strange chuckle, he brought the spirit general and disappeared from Tang Tian's sight. On Tang Tian's waist, a streak of blood splattered out. Xia's Yu was filled with surprise, continuously dodging his killing technique. It was his first time encountering such a situation. And at the same time, he was surprised Tang Tian's improvement. The last time, Tang Tian barely dodged, but this time, even though he was trapped, Tang Tian did not lose his sense of propriety. Not good, there's an ambush. The gigantic boulder palm print, its power was already terrifying, and under Tang Tian's terrifying power, the deep whistle was intimidating, the entire cave was trembling. Great monument palm killing move, boulder monument palm. Xia. A few specks of cold light shot up from the ground. The cold and dangerous light pierced straight at Tang Tian's face. The sword radiance was pitch black and could not be seen with the naked eye. However, no matter how surprised Xia was, his hands did not slow down at all. Chi. The rapier continued to tremble and stab out, turning the darkness into light. Tang Tian roared, both of his palms together, crane vortex. Peacock. Thinking of their previous reckless behavior, he could not help but break out in a cold sweat. Fortunately, between life and death, he chose to believe in his own instincts. The Tan Tue blade and the rapier collided without any fancy moves. Tang Tian dashed out as fast as lightning. A few specks of silver light suddenly shot out. Their target was the location where he had sensed the danger. In mid-air, Tang Tian's true power surged, his right palm's, great monument palm, was ready to be unleashed. Heaven's Road grade martial artist. The reason why Marquis Wu was able to rule over such a planet was because Marquis Wu had 2 Heaven's Road grade martial artists. And one of them was Marquis Wu himself. His eyes stared intently at the person hiding in the cave. His instincts were right. Tang Tian, who was sprinting, suddenly narrowed his eyes. Tang Tian was almost misled by the sharp whistle, but following that, a strong sense of danger appeared on the other side of his body. Without thinking, Tang Tian roared, "Peacock!" The cold light blade brought a weak light to the surroundings. Luckily, the wound was not deep. The rapier trembled in the darkness. The silver light seemed to be shrouded by the night. Like a clay ox entering the sea, it disappeared without a trace. It was truly the intuition of a wild beast. Tang Tian shook his head, he felt weird. So treacherous. Why is he here? Gu Shui asked, her voice trembling. Xia had left a deep impression on her. The young lady's expression was solemn. I don't know, but father said it himself. Father once spent a lot of effort to recruit Xia. If Marquis Wu can have 3 Heaven's Road grade martial artists, father will be able to stand out from the 13 prefectures. Tang Tian thought of Wu Guang, the only Heaven's Road grade martial artist he had met before. Wu Guang's Heaven Shower Blade left a deep impression on Tang Tian. A martial artist comparable to Marquis Wu. Zhai Hengzhan and Qingwan's faces turned white. Peacock was vengeful. Suddenly, a black rapier swept through the darkness. Like a silent venomous snake, it went straight for Tang Tian's waist. Everyone's faces congealed. Tang Tian had even summoned his peacock armor, but it was not enough to stop the opponent. They were all shocked. One must know, Tang Tian's strength was the strongest amongst them. If even he could not stop the opponent, then how strong was the opponent? Tang Tian suddenly understood. Xia had long discovered them, and specially laid this trap. The person he discovered was Xia's spirit general, but he was wearing Xia's mask, purposely letting them discover him and baiting them to rush over to attack. And Xia himself was lying in ambush at the side of the cave, waiting for an opportunity to launch a sneak attack. Such an improvement was truly shocking. Tang Tian felt that it was weird, but the arrow was knocked on the bowstring. There was no time to hesitate. Even if it was a fake, he had to destroy it. But Tang Tian never relied on his eyes when fighting. With his 18 times intuition, Tang Tian was extremely sensitive. His fist missed, his body that was twisted like a fried dough twist, suddenly exploded with power, his left leg bounced up, and a ray of light blade shot out like lightning. A strong force came from the rapier, the feather belt immediately crumbled, and the silver feather at the tip of the feather belt started to crack. And then, he could not help but ask. But he never thought that Tang Tian's intuition would actually reach such a shocking level. That was a spirit general. A figure replaced Xia's position. It was the spirit general that was disguised as Xia. The spirit general wore a white mask, the rapier in his hand was as straight as a spear, and his next move caused Tang Tian to be even more surprised. Curtain of the Night Swordsman Xia. Xia grew bigger and bigger in Tang Tian's vision, but he remained indifferent, as though he did not see Tang Tian's existence. Tang Tian's speed was as fast as lightning, bringing along a blurry afterimage. He rushed to the entrance of the cave and stomped on the ground with his right leg. The power of this stomp was astonishing. The ground where his foot landed cracked like a spider web. Tang Tian's speed increased. Like a cannonball, he brazenly pounced towards Xia, who was in the cave. The fighting intent in Tang Tian's heart soared to the maximum. Fighting with Xia was one of his wishes. He was originally regretful that before leaving Phylon Star, he was unable to fight with Xia. Never did he expect to meet Xia here. Tang Tian's eyes suddenly turned red. Everyone could not help but gasp. Tang Tian's heart jumped. In the darkness, Xia's light sounded in his ears, causing all the hairs on his body to stand. Although his intuition was astonishing, but Xia's qi seemed to have blended perfectly into the darkness. Even with Tang Tian's intuition, it was difficult to accurately pinpoint Xia's position. Tang Tian's heart jumped, his face changed. His reaction was extremely fast. Almost at the moment when the opponent made his move, he had already sensed it. Without thinking, Tang Tian, who was in the air, forcefully twisted his waist, his right palm turned into a fist, and swung it backwards, like a swinging iron hammer. Tang Tian and Ling Su had been together for a long time, and his knowledge of spear techniques was much better than before. The Spirit General's movement was a standard stride-forward thrust of the spear. Not only did Tang Tian's heart not have the slightest bit of fear, but his fighting intent soared, blazing like a fire. With a roar, Tang Tian brazenly rushed forward. His hand lit up with a Dao tablet seal. The two words monolith were impressively eye-catching. Tang Tian could never forget this mask. The young lady took a deep breath and said solemnly, "Everyone be careful. Father once said, Xia is Phylon Star's one and only Heaven's Road grade martial artist. Could it be a fake?" Ding. Xia, who was in the cave, was like a statue, not moving at all. But Xia's sword was finally blocked by Tang Tian. The deathly white mask revealed a pair of ice-cold pupils. Wielding a thin rapier, he ignored Tang Tian, who was rushing over. Tang Tian had fought with so many people, but Xia was the most difficult and most dangerous one. The moment Tang Tian rushed into the cave, the silver light behind him dimmed and disappeared, and Tang Tian's eyes darkened. Ling Su did not understand. It can't be. Xia's rank is only 5. If he is a Heaven's Road grade martial artist, then what about the other 4? But Tang Tian's heart immediately raised a suspicion. Although Xia was powerful, but he felt that compared to Wu Guang, he was still lacking by quite a bit. Ding. With astonishing speed, the silver light enveloped his body. The gorgeous and exquisite peacock armor wrapped around his entire body. The peacock's silver pupils revealed its killing intent. It also recognized Xia. "It's Xia," Tang Tian said solemnly, his hands touching the feather belt that had cracks on the feather armor, his heart shivering. If not for the peacock, he would not have been able to dodge Xia's sword just now. Using a rapier to execute a spear technique? But the light allowed Tang Tian to see the fake Xia that he thought was a statue, pouncing towards him. Xia's figure flashed, and suddenly retreated. Every sword could hear the sound of the whirlpools being pierced and exploding. It was extremely fast, but extremely clear. The 10 whirlpools actually did not miss. As expected of the Curtain of the Night Swordsman. Xia's plan was watertight. He was very clear of the previous battle. He had left an unforgettable impression on Tang Tian. As long as he lured him slightly, a hot-blooded person like Tang Tian would definitely rush over. Once the two words, Xia, came out, everyone's face changed, including the little girl. Her face congealed. Tang Tian only then understood how strong Marquis Wu was. 2 Heaven's Road grade martial artists. What terrifying strength. The palm did not change. He brazenly slapped forward. Clang. Xia immediately displayed the true strength of a powerful swordsman. The rapier trembled, accurately piercing all the whirlpools. Pa. Tang Tian's fist missed. The moment the opponent released his sword, he changed his position. Tan to a blade. Just at this time, a cold killing intent quietly went straight for Tang Tian's ribs. The sharp whirlpools whooshed and flew out from Tang Tian's palms. This suspicion flashed past his mind, but Tang Tian's attention was still focused on the enemy in front of him. A ruthless look flashed past his eyes. That was to get rid of Xia's spirit general first. Although Tang Tian twisted his waist, but he did not completely avoid it. The rapier's body nimbly trembled, a few feather armors flew out, and Tang Tian's waist had an additional bloodstain. Although Xia was surprised, his hand movements did not slow down, the rapier trembled, and a strange sharp whistle pierced through his eardrums, but his rapier quietly pierced from the opposite angle. Chapter 184. The little girl's eyes lit up. Wow, 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 teacher, can you give it to me? I love it. Give it to you? Stop dreaming. Tang Tian said casually, but I can lend it to you for 1,000 star coins an hour, no bargaining. As they walked, Tang Tian muttered, why did Xia come here? Also, to be able to hide here, looks like he's very familiar with this place. Could it be that he's interested in the monarch slaying sword? That can't be right. His sword technique is completely different from the monarch slaying sword. If you dare to move, I'll knock you out. Tang Tian grinned. Yaya's eyes widened, glaring at the little girl, baring her teeth with an unfriendly expression. So his strength has decreased. Tang Tian nodded thoughtfully. He felt that there was still a gap between Xia and Wu Guang. It seemed like it was in line with his judgment. When Tang Tian heard the word treasure, his eyes lit up, and he quickly opened the metal chest. Gu Shui pursed her lips, unable to hide her smile. So it's like that? Tang Tian muttered. Everyone was stunned, and upon closer inspection, the slope under their feet was indeed slightly sloping downwards. Xianxia was even more impressed with Tang Tian's keen senses. Maybe he's here for the treasure. Or maybe there's something in the treasure that he's interested in, other than the monarch slaying sword. There should be other treasures. Gu Shui thought for a while. Xia should have been here for a long time. He was able to avoid the spirit general guarding the gate. Maybe he's already gained something. The cave passage was very long. Suddenly Tang Tian said, we're going down. Tang Tian threw Ling Su to the side and walked towards the field. Silver light shone from his feet and spread up his legs. With every step he took, the silver armor extended a little. When he stepped into the field, his entire body was covered in silver armor. He had just fought with Xia and was slightly injured, but the battle intent in his body had been aroused. Yaya's eyes lit up when she saw the soul core. Using both his hands and feet, he crawled from Tang Tian's shoulder to his hand like a little puppy, snatching the soul core and swallowing it in one gulp. Bullshit. Ling Su was furious. His eyes widened and his white robe fluttered. You mean you're stronger than me? So much nonsense. Ling Su coldly snorted. His face was a little pale. The battle just now had consumed a lot of his energy. He threw something to Tang Tian. I just got it. Tang Tian then placed them into the Aquarius Marshal cabinet. When Xianxia saw this, he could not help but feel weird. He had seen all kinds of experts, but Tang Tian was definitely the most unique. If it was another place, another person, Xianxia would definitely feel that the other party's brain was not good. But when it came to Tang Tian, he did not dare to look down on him. This fellow was truly unfathomable and unfathomable. Qing Wan was startled. Xianxia was shocked. I didn't know about this. Justice belongs to everyone. Tang Tian grinned and took the lead. The disappointed Tang Tian flipped the chest around for half a day. He even tore it apart to see if there were any compartments. Qing Wan snorted. Xia was one of her idols on the path of cultivating the sword. When Tang Tian said that he wanted to defeat Xia, she felt extremely uncomfortable. She could not help but say, although you are strong, do you think it will be so easy to defeat Xia? Ling Su glared at him. Don't imitate me. There was only a black spirit nucleus in the chest, and the quality of the spirit nucleus was not good enough. It was similar to the spirit nucleus that Tang Tian had obtained from the mutated star spirit snake. Xianxia did not say a word. He took out a dozen light-emitting wood and gave it to Tang Tian. These things were cheap, but normal people could not buy them. Mingguan? Tang Tian asked quickly. Qingwan could not stand Tang Tian's arrogant look. She could not help but say, the night swordsman was invincible at his peak. In the whole of Marquis Wu's night mansion, he was only below Marquis Wu. He once snuck into the mansion late at night and fought with Marquis. It was a draw. This thing is not worth much. Tang Tian looked distressed. Ling Su, you must find a fat sheep in the future. After fighting for half a day, you only got a snack for Yaya. Yeah, come out. You have a snack. Yaya was startled. After a while, its two hands squeezed its face into a ball and rubbed its meatball face. It was like a ball of fire was burning in his chest. Every step he took was very steady. There seemed to be a war drum beating in his body. His fighting spirit became more and more unrestrained. After walking for about 20 minutes, there was light in front of the cave. Everyone's spirits were roused. They immediately increased their pace. Tang Tian tested it out. As expected, the wooden stick in his hand lit up and released a bright light aura. He was immediately excited. He was preparing to inject more true power. Zhai Hengzhan, who was watching him from the side, immediately stopped him. Do not inject too much true power. If you inject too much true power, it will release a very glaring light. The wood will also be burnt to ashes. We will use it like this on the battlefield. It is useless against experts. But if there are many of them, there will be a few who will be hit. Ling Su's body froze. He could tell that Tang Tian was not joking. Yaya's face immediately turned bitter. She whimpered and wanted to protest. But her body was immediately grabbed by Tang Tian's palm. Tang Tian threw Yaya to the young lady. He threatened her. Yaya, you must satisfy the customer. It's a pity I can't see Xia at his peak. Tang Tian's face was full of regret. If only I could defeat Xia at his peak. How awesome would that be? There are two types of spirit trials. One is to light up the spirit-suppressing treasure. It is called the Bright Pass. The other type that does not light up the spirit-suppressing treasure is called the Dark Pass. Our trial just now was the Dark Pass. The young lady said. The Bright Pass will usually appear less. Once the spirit-suppressing treasure lands in the hands of the challenger, the trial will collapse on its own. It usually appears in one situation. The person who set up the spirit trial is very confident in the trial. Tang Tian was enlightened. He immediately felt that the light-emitting wood was useful. He immediately asked Zhai Hengzhan. Give me a few more. No. I'll do it. Qingwan said seriously. In here, my strength is second only to Tang Tian. I'll do it. Tang Tian clenched his fists. He was full of fighting spirit. The young lady took over Yaya. She treated it like a treasure. She would tease Yaya from time to time. Soon, the meaty and brainless Yaya was happy. The young lady looked at Yaya. But it's so cute. Is it called Yaya? Okay. The young lady agreed without hesitation. Tang Tian was very proud of his business acumen. But how much could he earn with 1,000 per hour? After calculating for a long time, Tang Tian gave up. If only Chie was here. He wouldn't have to worry about the math. The young lady's face became serious. She quickly reminded him. Be careful. This is the Bright Pass. What is that? Tang Tian asked curiously. Tang Tian thought nothing of it. It's not easy. What's the point of it being easy? Don't you think that defeating Xia is enough to make one's blood boil? When they left the cave, Tang Tian and the rest were extremely careful. They were worried that Xia would set up an ambush at the entrance. But what made everyone heave a sigh of relief was that they did not see Xia. Outside the cave was a flat and spacious hall. There was no place to hide. The young lady took a look. She was surprised. Oh my, how could I forget about this? Every spirit pass guard requires something to guard. It's called a spirit-suppressing treasure. With the spirit-suppressing treasure, these spirit generals have a fulcrum to rely on. Usually, the stronger the spirit general, the stronger the spirit-suppressing treasure. Quickly open it. Yes. The young lady nodded. Her expression congealed. The Bright Pass is hard to pass. You must be careful. Also, It's better to have as few people as possible. Many of the passes have special arrangements for the number of people. The more people there are, the more difficult the pass becomes. Many people don't understand. They think that the Spirit Pass is a guard. In fact, the Spirit Pass is a test. If not, we can just use a trap. Why do we need a Spirit Pass? The pitch-black cave was extremely narrow. It could only allow 2 people to pass through. Xianxia held a glowing wooden stick in his hand. The wooden stick emitted a bright light. The inside of the tunnel was extremely clear. With the glowing wood, the tunnel could be seen clearly. The tunnel was originally very narrow. There was no place to hide. There was no need to worry about Zia's sneak attack. Qingwan said, "You weren't in the residence at that time. Not many people in the residence knew about it. I happened to be there." Marquis also knew that I trained in sword techniques. That's why he allowed me to watch the battle. The curtain of the night swordsman at that time was too strong. The young man was clad in silver armor. He stepped on the drum and walked slowly. "Yeah, act cute." Tang Tian shouted. "Let's go." Those treasures must be feeling lonely. They must be waiting for the godlike young man to save them. Tang Tian said confidently. "For justice." "No problem." Tang Tian curled his lips. "As long as we defeat him, we will know everything." Glowing wood. Xianxia had another one in his hand. He passed it to Tang Tian. "As long as you inject a bit of true power into it, it will glow. It's much better than a torch." He was about to pounce towards Qingwan. But a hand grabbed his neck. Ling Su, who had just gone through a tough battle, did not have any strength to resist. He was grabbed by Tang Tian like a little chick. Ling Su was even more furious. He was about to attack with the silver spear in his hand. Tang Tian fished it out. It was a rusty metal box. What a pity. Such a powerful expert. I can't meet him when he is at his strongest. What a pity. Tang Tian looked regretful. He tilted his head and thought. But since this is reality, there's nothing we can do. Let's defeat the incomplete curtain of the night swordsman first. In the middle of the hall, there was a bronze box. Keep bragging. Keep bragging. Qingwan snorted in her heart. The others nodded their heads. Gu Shui's guess was very reasonable. Still nothing. At the last moment, Qingwan recalled the scene. She could not help but reveal a shocked expression. She trained in sword techniques. She had a deeper understanding of sword techniques than the others. She could feel how strong Zia was. Xianxia said, "Let me do it. Since I'm the strongest, let me do it." And then, the little girl tilted her head and revealed a reminiscing expression. She said with uncertainty, "Father said something about it being a pity. I don't know what it was. But after that, Zia's ranking dropped drastically. I don't know if it has anything to do with this. Father rarely shows interest in someone. That's why I have a deep impression of him." Chapter 185. Only Ling Su gritted his teeth angrily and said softly, "Asshole. Wait till I recover, you're dead." The sound of the flute was clear and melodious, faintly discernible like the clouds. Strands of mist slowly formed around Magic Flute. In the midst of the white clouds, Magic Flute's blue eyes drooped, his expression extremely focused. Only Ling Su was dumbstruck. He finally understood that the fellow in the screen who was playing the flute by himself like a dumb goose was actually strong to such an extent. Tang Tian was enlightened. Seems like the nature of the flute sound was also a type of oscillation. These transparent bubbles were about the size of a fist. After emerging, they quietly floated in the air. Tang Tian was extremely shocked. Every bubble was a vacuum ball. Tang Tian could also use the concussion punch to produce vacuum balls, but compared to the countless of densely packed vacuum balls in front of him, Tang Tian felt that his move was too small. Magic sound break? Everyone asked in unison. One tune 7 deaths? Outside the light screen, the little girl's face was pale. Although it was a low-level martial technique, but fused with Tang Tian's understanding of oscillation, the dense and congealed air in front of him immediately loosened and crumbled like sand. Outside the light screen, everyone's eyes were wide open. Tang Tian, who completely did not understand music, did not notice, at this time, the sound of the flute had quietly changed. Tang Tian racked his brains, but could not think of how magic flute did it, but the sense of danger in his heart had already reached an unprecedented level. Everyone's heart immediately sank, their gazes all focused on the field. The little girl's face was slightly pale, the others were at a loss, they had never heard of this name before. Tang Tian's eyes suddenly opened wide, revealing a look of surprise. His body was actually slightly numb and somewhat weak. Sound martial technique? The sound of the flute floated in the air. Tang Tian immediately felt the strangeness of his surroundings. The surrounding air became extremely dense. Tang Tian felt as though he was in a swamp. Every step forward required a large amount of energy. The little girl bit her lips and looked at the field worriedly. In young Master Magic Flute's most glorious year, he once defeated 3 Heavens Road grade martial artists. If that was the case, idiot Tang would have been reduced to ashes long ago, Ling Su said with a frown. Bing raised his eyelids and said lightly, "The young masters of the aristocratic families are all like that, but the aristocratic families that were destroyed by us, if not 10,000, there were at least 8,000. As for the young masters of aristocratic families that we killed, how can we count them clearly? This idiot got away with it." Ling Su snorted coldly, but he was relieved. The little girl's expression was filled with worry. "It has another name, 7 deaths in one tune." The young lady shook her head. "My rank will drop, but my understanding of martial skills will not. Young Master Magic Flute is most famous for his killing technique, broken demonic sound." With a wave of his hand, a circular screen of light rose up and formed an enclosed space. Gu Shue's face was filled with anxiety, but she did not stop him. Zhai Hengzhan and Qing Wan might not understand Tang Tian, but she knew, under Tian's naive and foolish appearance, was the heart of a true strong martial artist. The distance between Tang Tian and Magic Flute was less than 6 m. To Tang Tian, as long as he was a little closer, he would be able to attack. Tang Tian did not panic as long as there was a way to solve it. Seeing the little girl's reaction, Tang Tian knew the opponent's background was not small. But he did not have the slightest bit of fear, but instead became even more excited. Staring at Magic Flute, he said in a deep voice, "Don't talk nonsense, let's decide the winner." He had trained in the concussion fist before, and had a much deeper understanding of vibrations than the average person. To form a vacuum ball, one had to use intense vibrations to destroy the air. Tang Tian slowly stepped into the field. This fellow's martial technique was truly strange. He had to strike first. When the others heard, they were overwhelmed with emotions, but also fearful and worried. Closing his blue eyes, holding the copper flute horizontally, he brought it to his lips. A strand of qi was injected, and the copper flute in his hands suddenly lit up. The notes were like flowing water, slowly flowing out from the copper flute. Qing Wan wanted to say something, but did not say anything. In her vision, the silver-armored young man's back view was emitting a blazing battle intent. She could not even think of rebuking him. Suddenly, she thought of what Zhai Hengzhan had said to her previously. Tang Tian was a dangerous fellow. Used to the naive Tang Tian, such a domineering Tang Tian shocked everyone. The air was like a wall, it was hard to move. The little girl did not know if she was excited or afraid, but talking about this legendary history, she could not help but yearn for it. "My name is Flute." Separated by countless of bubbles, Magic Flute lowered his head and played the flute, became indistinct. Under the intense killing intent of the entire field, Magic Flute's long hair fluttered, revealing the handsome and focused face on the copper flute. But at the same time, there were so many vacuum balls. Humph! Tang Tian roared, the true power in his body surged, the feeling of softness immediately disappeared. He exerted strength in his legs and rushed towards Magic Flute. Magic Flute explained, "Please do not worry, this layer of light is only to isolate my flute sound, to prevent it from affecting your esteemed friend." The little girl bit her lips, her voice trembling. Magic Flute's era was earlier than Senior Demon Slayer Sword by about 100 years. He was born in an aristocratic family, and was proficient in music since young. After training in martial techniques, he integrated the changes in music into his martial techniques and formed a unique sound martial technique. His flute sound seemed to have a magical power because he was called Magic Flute. Magic Flute, who was born in an aristocratic family, had an exceptional demeanor and was gentle like a spirit jade, so he was called Young Master Magic Flute. The battle that made him famous was when Tiger Forest Star met with a large-scale star spirit beast tide. 7 cities were consecutively destroyed, corpses were everywhere, and no one could stop it. When the beast tide reached the 8th city, Magic Flute arrived. On the starry night city walls, a flute sound repelled the beast tide. In that wave of beast tide, there were 9th-level star spirit beasts. His slender fingers gently slid across the copper flute. This action was as light as the wind, but it caused Tang Tian's hair to stand on end. As long as he was within 3 m of the opponent, he had the confidence to kill the opponent. His strength should have dropped. Xianxia had the most battle experience. He could see the crux with one look. As time passes, a spirit general's level will drop continuously. It definitely cannot be compared to his peak. The vacuum balls floating quietly in the sky slowly floated towards Tang Tian from all directions. Ling Su, who had his eyes wide opened, was also amazed. Such a powerful silly goose. I never thought that, after so many years, there would still be someone who remembers my name. It is truly an honor. Magic Flute smiled and bowed to the little girl to express his gratitude. Tang Tian was curious and somewhat expectant. He had never met such an opponent before. Such a powerful magic flute? How did he do it? Inside the light screen, a bubble suddenly appeared out of nowhere. In the blink of an eye, another bubble appeared. What happened next made everyone hold their breath. The air inside the light screen seemed to be boiling. One bubble after another suddenly appeared. A 9th-level star spirit beast. What kind of concept was that? Tangtan, just this name, made everyone tremble in fear. Inside the light screen, the air suddenly became sluggish. Blue eyes as clear as gems, a handsome and gentle face with a slight smile, both legs floating in the air, his slender figure added a sense of otherworldliness. Magic Flute, who was a few meters away, was playing the flute, immersed in his own world. Tang Tian was slightly surprised. This was definitely the most polite spirit general he had ever seen. He could not help but mutter to Bing, "Hey, uncle, we are both spirit generals. Why is your grade so low compared to him?" In Tang Tian's eyes, every vacuum ball was like an oscillating point. In his vision, it was densely packed. Thousands of oscillating points existed at the same time. Then isn't he a Heaven's Road grade martial artist? Xianxia's voice was filled with fear. Tang Tian concentrated. The opponent's name was Magic Flute, and his attacking style was probably related to that. Just as he took a step, the surrounding air, under the direction of the flute, returned to its original state. The few of them were dumbstruck, so shocked that they could not say a word. A Heaven's Road grade martial artist and defeating 3 Heaven's Road grade martial artists, they naturally understood the difference between the two. Magic Flute bowed and said clearly, "Please listen to a song." If it was said, previously, Tang Tian was still unable to judge the opponent's strength, then this move immediately refreshed Tang Tian's understanding of Magic Flute's strength. Minute collapsing fist. Everyone was shocked. The spirit general actually opened his mouth to speak. The young lady thought of something, her face changed and shouted, "Teacher, be careful, he is Magic Flute." In the blink of an eye, Tang Tian was in a bubble. With a roar, Tang Tian punched the air in front of him. Gu Shui saw the young lady's face and could not help but ask, "Princess, is this Magic Flute very powerful?" But at this time, there was a sudden change. After advancing 7 to 8 steps, the distance between Tang Tian and Magic Flute was about 2 feet. Tang Tian took the chance and rushed forward. The young lady's face became even more worried. "I also do not know what is going on with this move. But it is said that this move of Magic Flute has never failed before." If it was any other time, the distance of 2 feet to Tang Tian was almost non-existent. But now, Tang Tian did not take it to heart. Until now, although the opponent's flute sound was unique and strange, but Tang Tian did not feel that it was too powerful. A spirit general, like a ball of smoke, floated out from the bronze box and transformed. Idiot Tang is in danger. Vacuum ball. Never failed before. His voice was pleasing to the ear, clear and warm, causing people to be mesmerized. Both fists swung out, one punch and one step, slowly but firmly closing in on Magic Flute. Magic Flute seemed as though he did not feel anything, and only cared about playing the bronze flute, as though he was not aware of the approaching danger. Very quickly, he did not have time to brag to Uncle Bing, his gaze suddenly congealed. There was a bronze flute in Flute's hands. The body of the flute was as clean as new, shining like a mirror. Magic Flute? Tang Tian was stunned. In truth, when Flute opened his mouth, he was also shocked. He had fought with so many spirit generals, but this was the first time he met a spirit general that could speak, of course, except for Bing. Even Ghost Claw usually did not make a sound. Flute bowed slightly. His temperament was filled with grace and elegance. It is better to be respectful than respectful. Chapter 186. He started to take the initiative to move his position, although the sky full of vacuum balls looked scary, but the previous situation where the air was like a wall disappeared, and Tang Tian's movement was not hindered at all. The number of vacuum balls was astonishing, densely packed, but in front of Tang Tian's 18 times intuition, there was still room for him to make use of. Qingwan felt that the scene in front of her was indescribably familiar. The last time she used the shaky sword wings, she completely suppressed Tang Tian. That scene was exactly the same as now. Tang Tian was on the verge of falling, but he did not fall. The Tang Tian in the light screen was simply not like a human. The glory of the Southern Cross Army definitely cannot be tarnished like this. You trash, seems like I have been too lenient on you. Even this trash in front of you with a fighting strength of 5, you are not even his opponent. But, facing such an astonishing vacuum ball, it was the first time Tang Tian was at a loss. His entire body was slightly exhausted. Under such suffocating conditions, he released that punch. It was a desperate counterattack, and almost exhausted all his strength. Bing roared loudly in Tang Tian's mind, "Pit, asshole! You are actually being mocked by such a fellow. Such a fellow, who knows how many have been killed by us in the past, and you are actually being mocked by such a fellow? This is definitely intolerable, a disgrace, an absolute disgrace." A scalp-numbing shriek suddenly sounded out. Tang Tian, who was in battle, was extremely quick-witted, and very quickly he thought of what to do. Everyone was dumbstruck. Ping! There was nothing more satisfying than this. Tang Tian's figure flashed, his body bent into a strange shape in mid-air, and just happened to pass through a crack in the bubble. The layers of energy converged into a powerful current, as though it was destroying everything. Tang Tian's eyes were wide open in anger, and he released a punch. Bing calmed down. Since he had angered Tang Tian, his goal was achieved. He leisurely sat down to watch the show, and said to Ghostly Claw proudly, "This guy even said that Ling Su is some angry Ling Su, but he forgot that he is also a trash that will not rush forward without a kick or two." Tang Tian's heart suddenly calmed down. His intuition now was much stronger than before. Although these vacuum spheres were powerful, their speed was slow, and their numbers were much less than the light spheres. Needless to say, Zhai Hengzhan and Gu Shui, even the stubborn Ling Su, was shocked speechless. Ling Su felt indescribably ashamed when he thought of his terrible body technique. Compared to Tang Tian, who was as nimble as a monkey, he was like a weight. Once he relaxed, his strength would not be able to recover, and his fighting spirit would also be affected. Every corner of the light screen was filled with terrifying blades of energy. These blades varied in size, but their power was astonishing. "Shut up!" Tang Tian roared in reply. The silver fist passed through layers of air currents, and a transparent light screen appeared on Tang Tian's right fist, and became bigger. The light sphere that Tang Tian's fist shot out actually expanded to the size of a bamboo basket. Just like the first time he trained with the light spheres, the sky was filled with light spheres that pounced towards him like raindrops, and he was so frightened and at a loss. The densely packed air bubbles made them feel dizzy just by looking at them, and Tang Tian needed to find a space to dodge in a split second, and then use all sorts of weird postures to complete the dodge. The air bubbles in the light screen seemed to be stirred into a mess by him. Bing's incessant chatter completely angered Tang Tian, and he roared, "Shut up!" The entire light screen immediately became a chaotic meat grinder. Countless air currents were being pulled, like many sharp blades of energy, wantonly dancing. He smiled warmly, "Please don't worry, I will let you completely recover your strength. What the young lady said just now was right, this is a test, and not a trap. I am also looking forward to be able to find someone who is qualified to possess it." The feeling of exhaustion made his entire body sore and weak. But he was long used to being exhausted, and he knew that at this time he must not relax. Outside the light screen, the people who were already prepared to save him at any time were dumbstruck. In the light screen, Tang Tian was like an extremely agile monkey, using all sorts of unimaginable movements, nimbly shuttling between the air bubbles. All the air bubbles were being pulled around by him. Every time it looked like he was about to be drowned by the overwhelming air bubbles, but unfortunately, Tang Tian was able to dodge by a hair's breadth. Early on when he was enlightened on the vacuum kill, he had already thought of how to break this technique. The way to break this technique was very simple. He only needed to release another vacuum ball at the moment when the air currents were being pulled. Once this vacuum ball was broken, it would be like a whirlpool, pulling all the air currents and converging towards it. Tang Tian, whose eyes were bloodshot, suddenly bellowed, the power coming from his toes, along his legs, waist, through his spine, layer by layer, it was transmitted to his hands. After reaching the 6th level, Tang Tian's control over his body had reached an unprecedented height. Before reaching the 6th level, he would definitely not be able to do this. Just like the sound of glass shattering, the light screen on Tang Tian's fist was instantly shattered. Tang Tian was truly enraged. His chest was filled with accumulated rage. The sharp sound of the flute was like a needle, piercing through all the vacuum balls. Regardless if it was true power or strength, they were all displayed to the extreme. But this was also the first time he was like this, completely gathering all the strength in his body. What to do? But obviously not everyone thought so. Tang Tian's face changed. What was coming next? No one was clearer than him. This was the torrential vacuum kill version. All the air bubbles paused, and once again pounced towards Tang Tian. The air currents around Tang Tian were all pulled towards the broken light screen. The area around Tang Tian was actually empty. He gasped for breath, every joint in his body was in pain. This was the aftereffect of using too much strength. But the pain to him now was actually a good thing, it allowed him to concentrate. But he knew there was only one chance. This reaction was too abnormal. Looking at Tang Tian's expression, vacuum kill. Without thinking, Tang Tian bellowed, "Peacock." Tang Tian's action immediately alerted all the air bubbles in the light screen. He was like a piece of juicy meat, and the air bubbles were like sharks that smelled the meat. Other than the shark's movements being slower, the danger was definitely not lower than the shark's. Bing's roar was still echoing in his ears. Magic Flute's leisurely words entered his ears. He originally thought that the other party was polite, but now it was exceptionally ear-piercing. How did I break the light ball training? The silver armor on Tang Tian's body released countless sparks. Tang Tian's body was like a sieve, trembling. Too concentrated. Like a torrential storm, it was so concentrated that he could not breathe, and had no time to counterattack. Huh! Magic Flute was somewhat surprised. In his blue eyes, there was a trace of astonishment. But in the blink of an eye, he understood Tang Tian's intention, and could not help but chuckle. First kill 1,000 floating air, second kill 10,000 blade twist, third kill slow flute sound. I wish you the best of luck. Tang Tian gasped for breath. His face was still in disbelief. He still could not believe he actually broke Magic Flute's second kill. Immediately, the disbelief in his eyes turned into endless joy. He had enough reason to be happy, because this was completely his own method. The move that he had figured out on his own had saved his life at a crucial moment. Magic Flute's voice was indescribably pleasant. You could hear the praise and surprise in his tone, and not the slightest bit of disgust. He was like a friend, commenting on it. Magic Flute clapped his hands, his face full of admiration. With your cultivation, to be able to break the second kill, it really surprised me. Don't tell me this era has improved so much compared to us? Intuition, he relied on his intuition. Her mood suddenly became much better. She was curious, Magic Flute's current mood, was it similar to hers? The little girl watched with her mouth wide open, completely forgetting to close it. It was the first time she saw her own teacher, who was actually so powerful. She dared to confirm that none of her previous martial technique teachers could do this. The silver armor suddenly lit up. The silver armor completely enveloped Tang Tian's head and face. The surging power filled every corner of his body. This was the first time Tang Tian used all the power in his body after breaking through to the 6th level. Tang Tian was stunned. How did he do it? All the air bubbles in the light screen once again changed direction. All the air currents rushed into the light screen like a tide. All the powerful air currents were all pulled by this astonishing attraction. The unprecedented danger caused Tang Tian's attention to focus unprecedentedly. Magic Flute's power was beyond his imagination. Just the terrifying number of vacuum balls was definitely the work of a Heaven's Road grade martial artist. To be able to train your intuition to such a level, and to be able to use it so well, you are the first person I have seen. Ping! Under such a ferocious attack, Tang Tian could not even move a finger. Every feather armor on his body was hit by countless air blades. His entire body was enveloped in a layer of sparks. Tang Tian took the opportunity to crouch down, stick close to the ground, and squeezed through a gap that he could pass through. His back and a vacuum ball was less than a centimeter away. It's such a pity, my power has dropped a lot. 7 kills, I can only use 3 kills. But if you are able to block these 3 kills, then you definitely have the qualifications to obtain this item. Magic Flute once again placed the bronze flute horizontally under his lips, the blue light aura in his eyes exploding. He blew out an extremely sharp note. Wait a minute, light ball training. Magic Flute suddenly stopped and looked at Tang Tian, who was running all over the place with interest. CSISI. How could he be mocked by such a person? He opened his eyes wide, staring fiercely at Magic Flute. Tang Tian lost the space to dodge. Space? That's right, it was space. As long as there was space for him to move, it meant that he could grasp the initiative, even if it was just a little initiative. To the current Tang Tian, it was like a life-saving straw. Vacuum kill, a concentrated version of vacuum kill. What a smart young man. What made her even more depressed was, she did not even understand why Tang Tian did not fall. Seeing all the vacuum balls swarming over, Tang Tian did not know what to do at that moment. To him, this was an extremely rare situation. Even Bing, who was a picky person, was full of praises for Tang Tian's battle intelligence, and thought that Tang Tian was a natural battle machine. He originally needed to be fully focused to be able to maintain the situation, and Bing's roar immediately made him frustrated. That's interesting. Chapter 187. If this goes on, I will be further and further away from Chie. Where is the future? I don't know. Tang Tian clenched his teeth. Goo, my mission is complete. Magic Flute bade farewell and said, to be able to hand it over to you, I am very happy. I hope you can treat it well. The mountains will not change, the rivers will continue to flow. When Magic Flute entered the Southern Cross Army encampment, he was dumbstruck. Tang Tian's heart was suddenly filled with indescribable emotions. There was nothing better than looking at his own perseverance in the past, to let him understand his original intentions. That's right. Bing showed his poker face and said meaningfully, I am the same as you. Interesting. Actually, you are saying that I am stupid, right? Shut up. Tang Tian bellowed at Bing. At the same time, behind the cross door, Bing said to Ghost Claw with a face of rejoicing, that was close, that was close. This guy's flute is too weird. Just now I was almost tricked. Luckily little Tang Tang is thick-skinned. In the dark night on the mountain, a young boy touched a bronze plate and muttered to himself, "Are you ready?" Magic Flute's face regained its solemnity. "Although I feel that you are a good candidate, but you have to pass the test to have the chance to get it." "Get lost," Tang Tian scolded Bing. "You will know when you come," Bing said with a face of seriousness. Only Tang Tian knew, this guy must be up to something. But no matter how he opened his mouth, he could not make a sound. Although he knew he had persevered, but the emotions in the heart of the young man on the hillside made him feel extremely deep. The darkness of not being able to see hope, the confusion of not being able to see the future, disappointment, depression, these emotions, to a 12 or 13-year-old young man, were so heavy that he could not breathe. The gentle voice, floated in the wind, like the flowing water of the flute, slid past his heart. He forgot that this was his memory, he forgot that this was something that had happened in the past. He looked at the young man lying on the hillside grass, and looked at the stars in the sky. Tang Tian's vanity was immediately satisfied, and he put his hands on his waist and said, "Ha! I have long said, if you look down on me, you will die a horrible death. Now you know how powerful I am. However, since you've come to your senses, I'll forgive you and not lower myself to your level." Tang Tian stared at Magic Flute in an unfriendly manner. "He actually dared to call me stupid." The young man spread his arms and lay on the hillside in low spirits. Everything around him seemed to become lazy and indescribably comfortable. The killing intent and anger in Tang Tian's chest were subdued unknowingly. Shua! Magic Flute smiled, waved his sleeves, and the steel box on the ground flew towards Tang Tian. "Do you still want to persist?" Tang Tian was like a bystander, looking at the dispirited and depressed youth on the hillside. He was a little anxious. He wanted to loudly tell his past self that he must persevere. With the Guardian Gem, he was able to exist in the form of a spirit general for so long. But the years continued to wear him down bit by bit, and now that the Guardian Treasure was given to Tang Tian, the spirit general that had lost its sustenance would quickly dissipate. The others could not be bothered with the two of them. "Ha!" Magic Flute laughed out loud. He was not angry, and looked at Tang Tian with interest. "Looks like your talent is very ordinary." He must be envious of him for being too handsome. The young lady's eyes lit up, countless stars flashing. Such a handsome Magic Flute. If only he was still alive, I would definitely invite him to be my teacher. That's right. Why is this person like this, always exposing others' shortcomings? Bing came over with a face full of righteous indignation. "Do your best, young man." Tang Tian took the box with a face full of caution, but nothing happened. Suddenly, the young man jumped up, facing the sun. He opened his arms. "Giving up such a shameful thing, how could it be my idea?" The young man felt the sunlight, and opened his eyes in a daze. Then he saw a big egg yolk hanging in the sky, and saw the world covered in a layer of warm orange. Suddenly, his face became alert. "Hey, you're just using these words to fool me, you don't want to give me the treasure, right?" But he had to gamble on time, and gamble on the future. Gu Shui stared at Ling Su, but still spoke for Tang Tian. Tian definitely felt that the other party had some bad intentions. Magic Flute was not offended and chuckled. "You're the third person who did not react to the sound of the flute. Seems like I really underestimated you. I'm sorry. Will it be all for naught in the end? What's impossible?" Bing waved his hand, with a face of a ruffian soldier. "I'm standing right in front of you. He can make us not disappear and not be annihilated." "Impossible?" Magic Flute muttered to himself. "His temperament is great." Qing Wan also had a face of infatuation. "This is the first time I've seen such a man." A burst of voice interrupted Tang Tian's thoughts. Tang Tian stared angrily, his eyes spewing fire. Tang Tian immediately reacted, and pointed at Magic Flute, and said angrily, "You think I'll be numb and careless just like that? Let me tell you, this kind of small trick is useless against me. I won't fall for it." "What? A man? Fight hard." Three gazes like knives, wanting to poke countless holes in Ling Su. The young lad used all his strength to shout. He was still afraid, afraid that if his voice was softer, he would not be able to hear, afraid that if his voice was softer, he would not believe it. Looking at the young lad crying helplessly, Ling Su snorted, "What do women know about men's matters?" Bing's face was proud, and he extended 2 fingers to Tang Tian. "Done. I've said so many times that I'm stupid, it's too late to say anything good now." "Teacher, why do you have that expression?" The little girl did not understand, and asked curiously, "I feel that Magic Flute is very good. He's cultured, and not arrogant, like a spring breeze." "Come on. Bring it on." Tang Tian stared angrily. Time passed slowly, the stars fell, and the sun rose. The orange sunlight jumped out from the horizon and dyed the world orange. "Please listen, the sound of the flute is slow. Chia loves men the most." The young lad on the hill clutched his stomach growling like thunder. There was not a trace of the impassioned feeling he had just now. His limbs were weak, and he slowly moved down the hill, his face bitter. "I'm so hungry, I forgot that I haven't eaten, I used too much strength." Ghost Claw did not say a word, his eyes were still reminiscing. Tang Tian looked at everything, looked at himself in the past, his heart silently shouted, "Young lad, you have to work hard. No matter what, you can't give up." "You're still saying I'm stupid." Magic Flute's body trembled, his elegant face lost his composure for the first time. "Spirit? Spirit General." I think so too." Qing Wan seemed to have awoken from a dream and followed up. "So nice to hear, impossible." Magic Flute's face was full of disbelief. Even now, Tang Tian, faced with such a choice, faced with these emotions, he was still a little worried. The sunlight shone on the young lad's tear-stained face, and the tranquil face became a little warmer. "Wait a minute." Tang Tian's eyes widened. He did not understand music, but this flute tune seemed to blow into his heart. Unknowingly, he was pulled back into his memories. Looking at the young lad curled up into a ball in the bushes. "I've trained for a whole year, and there's still no improvement. This broken bronze plate can't be messing with me, right? Ha ha." Tang Tian could not help but laugh. Suddenly a voice cut in. Bing's figure appeared beside Tang Tian. "But spending so much time on it, was it worth it? If he used this year's time to learn martial techniques like an ordinary person, maybe he would have a good result." He said it very loudly, and it traveled very far. The sunlight could prove it. "He's saying you're stupid." Uncle Bing added oil to the fire, as if he wanted the world to be in chaos. "Well said." Uncle Bing praised loudly in Tang Tian's heart. He could not wait to clap and cheer. "Southern Cross Army," the light of those few words was enough to blind Magic Flute's deep blue eyes. "What? A new day." Magic Flute held his flute and bowed in apology. "Tang Tian, you're a real man. You don't even care about those little farts. Seems like I need to get to know you again." Magic Flute's voice was warm and pleasant. Tang Tian, who was laughing, suddenly saw Magic Flute's weird expression and gaze. His laughter stopped abruptly, his expression was unfriendly. "Hey, what's with that expression?" The hesitation of that year was so clearly presented in front of him. Looking at the tired young lad crying out for his mother in his sleep. What if after a year, there's still no reaction? Give up? Magic Flute, who was in front of him, had a weird expression. That pair of blue eyes looked at him again, his gaze was weird. "When will it end?" "Get to know my ass." Tang Tian waved his hand and said decisively, "Hurry up and finish that slow blow, and obediently hand over the treasure." "Who has the energy to get to know you again? I've walked many roads, met many people, done many things, but that heart of mine back then has never changed." Amidst the laughter, the vision in front of him returned to normal. There was only one clue in his hands, and he did not know what other clues there would be. "Young lad, it's a new day, pull yourself together." Tang Tian silently chanted in his heart. "But this is rather interesting." Magic Flute chuckled, his blue eyes were deep and enchanting. "After so many years, if the successor is an interesting fellow, it's better than a boring fellow." Magic Flute slowly raised the bronze flute and placed it at his lips. His deep blue eyes were like a world closing, slowly closing. His slender eyelashes lightly trembled in the air, his handsome face was now emitting a solemn aura. Magic Flute was completely unaware of Tang Tian's thoughts, and still sighed. This kind of talent, to be able to train to such a stage, it's really rare. Uncle Bing swayed his poker face, with a look of innocence. This was the outcome that had been decided long ago. Chapter 188. Gu Shue's petite body trembled slightly as she stared at the colorful screen of lovesickness. Although it was worn on the hand, it did not affect the movement of the hand. Tang Tian clenched his fist. There was actually no hindrance. It was indeed a good item. That may not be true, Xia said, but if I knew this round was guarded by the famous young master Magic Flute, no matter what, I would have to try. He came here a few years ago. Magic Flute revealed a look of reminiscence. I don't know where he got Wang Yong's keepsake. He can come and go as he pleases. But his goal should be that sword. If you want to fight with me, come to the last round. Treasure? Magic Flute was startled, with a face of curiosity. What treasure does he have? He is old and lonely. When he returned to Buzhou Mountain, he was alone with a sword, and did not have any treasure. Just the monarch slaying sword, a grandmaster grade slaying sword, could definitely be sold for a good price. And the even stronger Monarch Yearning Strike was of course even more expensive. What is this? Tang Tian played with the item in his hand. It was a silver claw. He just took it out from the copper chest. The bleeding cat blade scythe was like a cat's palm glove, revealing the claws. The claws curled inwards. The edge of the blade had a sickle-shaped blood mark. Tang Tian choked, scratched his head. He forgot about this. Ling Su saw that it was a cat claw, and immediately lost interest. No way. The little girl did not back down, widened her eyes and stared at Tang Tian. You said, you will accompany me to complete this adventure. How can you not go to the last round? Uncle Flute? The person you are talking about, I know. Suddenly, she raised her head, gathered her courage and said, I feel that it is calling me. Tang Tian's mood instantly fell from heaven to hell. The problem of the star rocks had always been bothering him, and his pockets were already empty. He was prepared to earn a lot, but he did not expect that before he reached the end, his hopes had already been dashed. Magic Flute automatically filtered these 3 words. His face congealed. It's that sword. Tang Tian shrugged. I can't do anything about that. Is that Senior Sword Slayer? Tang Tian asked curiously. That's what the book says. The little girl spread her hands innocently. Suddenly thinking about Xia, Tang Tian could not help but ask Magic Flute, Uncle Flute, there is another person here, do you know? But the young lady quickly shifted her interest to Magic Flute, sticking to Magic Flute's side, asking all sorts of questions. Magic Flute was not annoyed at all. He was patient and gentle, causing Qing Luan to be infatuated. Tang Tian replied with an "oh" and looked at the screen carefully. Tang Tian was satisfied. He had obtained a silver treasure and even a Heaven's Road grade spirit general. Although Magic Flute's strength was severely damaged, but he was still extremely strong. Magic Flute had always been testing. If it was a real battle, Tang Tian doubted how long he could last. Seems like I have to start learning Fire Scythe Ghost Claw. Tang Tian was eager to try. Magic Flute's words immediately attracted everyone. Speaking of Monarch Yearning Strike, Magic Flute's face could not help but reveal a look of shock. No, Wang Yong's sword was a treasure of Pegasus constellation, silver rank, called Heavenly Swallow Elegy, but it is not a treasure. Wang Yong's Slayer sword is unique. Ordinary treasured swords are not suitable for him. Although this Heavenly Swallow Elegy is not a treasure, but it is very suitable for his Slayer sword. But what that outsider saw was not the Heavenly Swallow Elegy. The screen of yearning, once tainted, will sink into endless yearning. Magic Flute suddenly chanted, Enter my yearning door, know my yearning pain. Longing for each other, longing for each other, longing for each other is endless. If I knew it would be so tangled, I would not have known you. Is his sword a treasure too? The little girl asked curiously. She was curious. Magic Flute spoke for so long, but did not mention the sword. No one noticed. Gu Shue's expression was strange. Everyone was shocked. Magic Flute's narration was far more shocking than the little girl's narration. A sword, actually because of one Slayer sword, transformed into a treasure weapon. Such a thing, if not for Magic Flute's own words, no one would believe it. Magic Flute sighed. His character is too weird. He was obviously enlightened on yearning, but he named it Monarch Yearning Strike. He is a genius, and spent 10 years practicing the Monarch Slayer sword. Grandmaster Grade Slayer sword, and this, Monarch Yearning Strike, is even more powerful, surpassing all his previous Slayer swords. When he was enlightened, I was by his side. That Slayer is really indescribable. That makes sense. Tang Tian saw countless star coins. Tang Tian's face was black. He turned and walked back. Let's go. Let's go back. After saying that, his figure disappeared like smoke. Schwa, the surroundings quietened down. Magic Flute pulled back his thoughts. His expression became calm. He enlightened Monarch Yearning Strike a few days later and passed away. He did not choose to become a spirit general, but chose to die. When he died, he was very calm, and even had some joy. A burst of applause sounded from afar. A figure wearing a mask appeared at the other end of the cave. The little girl's expression softened, and immediately said, "Furthermore, Monarch Yearning Strike is a treasure weapon. And to be able to enlighten such a powerful slayer, such a thing, how can it not be sold for a good price?" Tell me Senior Wang's story. It doesn't make sense that it can't be sold for a good price. So powerful. Tang Tian's eyes lit up. He tried wearing the bleeding cat blade scythe on his hand, and did not expect it to fit him so well. He tried waving it twice, the claws slicing through the air, drawing out dense silver scars. Xia used to have the strength of a Heaven's Road grade martial artist, but after being infected by the screen of yearning, his strength actually dropped so much. This light screen is so powerful. Everyone was confused by Magic Flute's words. Tang Tian was immediately excited. Such a good thing, how can it not be sold for a good price? Magic Flute, who was smiling with the little girl, suddenly froze. After a while, he turned his face stiffly. Actually, I am not that old. You can just call me Flute. What do you want that broken sword for? Tang Tian stared with his eyes wide open. Out of all of us, only Qingwan trains in sword techniques. What do the rest of us want that sword for? To even fight to the death for that sword, it's not worth it. Pa. Bing was interested. It's actually a treasure weapon. TSK. Rascal, you've earned big. Bleeding cat blade scythe and fire scythe ghost claw. Just by hearing the name, it's a perfect match. Although Tang Tian wanted to earn star coins, but that was for training, and not because he was greedy for money. Magic Flute smiled. It's my honor. Link's constellation's silver treasure, called Bleeding Cat Blade Scythe. Magic Flute's warm voice was like a spring breeze blowing into everyone's heart. Link's constellation's treasures, most of them are eye-type and claw-type. If I did not remember wrongly, Bleeding Cat Blade Scythe was very famous at that time. Out of the 10 silver ranked cat claws, this one is ranked 7th, and is a treasure weapon. Seems like it was a mistake for me not to pass the stage first. Xia's voice drifted like smoke. He was clearly standing there, but in everyone's perception, it was empty. Yes, Wang Yong was a genius, but his life was not that good. Magic Flute revealed a look of reminiscence. When he was 30, his wife died, and his personality changed. He started to work hard, and at 40, he mastered Monarch Slaying Sword. After wandering outside for about 10 years, he returned to Buzhou Mountain. His personality was eccentric, and he did not like others. Adding on the fact that he missed his wife, he was immersed in sorrow and loneliness every day. Half a month before his death, he dreamt of his wife every day, and created this technique, named Monarch Yearning Strike. Xia faintly chuckled. That sword? Everyone immediately opened their eyes wide, like a group of curious babies. They asked in unison. Everyone was enlightened. No wonder Xia's strength had declined all these years. It was because of this layer of light screen. A lonely sword was stuck in the middle of the hall. Beside it sat an old man. The sword's body emitted a rainbow-colored light. This light was like a dome, enveloping half the hall. This is that sword? Tang Tian muttered to himself. His heart was extremely shocked. Not only him, everyone else was shocked by the scene in front of them and could not speak. The rest also took turns to try it out. No one else was interested, only the little girl liked it, but Tang Tian directly ignored it and took it for himself. But everyone's heart was in awe. Yes. Magic Flute explained, the power of the monarch yearning strike is protecting his body. Tang Tian did not mean to avoid it. The layer of light screen gave him an extremely strong sense of danger. He almost suspected that the light screen in front of him was actually a rare poison. Even if he was just standing in front of the light screen, his heart would jump. That heavenly swallow elegy, because of Wang Yong's enlightenment on the monarch yearning strike, transformed and left heavenly swallow constellation. 4 hours before Wang Yong died, the sword completed its transformation and was named by Wang Yong as the monarch yearning strike, and stepped into the ranks of treasured weapons. Wang Yong caressed the sword. His corpse did not rot. That outsider's goal should be the monarch yearning strike. Also, only by obtaining that sword can he truly understand the monarch yearning strike. Such a dangerous thing. As expected of a Heaven's Road grade martial artist, even if his strength was not complete, his moves were still out of the ordinary. The last stage. Tang Tian turned his head to ask Magic Flute, "Uncle Flute, what is that?" Tang Tian tilted his head and thought, "Does Senior Wang have a lot of treasures?" Everyone was moved, their hearts filled with yearning. To be able to make a Heaven's Road grade martial artist reveal such an expression, it must be a breathtaking strike. "Ha, Xia, you're finally out. Come, let's have a good fight." Tang Tian pointed his finger straight at Xia, his fighting spirit burning. The sword's body was multicolored, as though countless of colors were flowing. The light screen was like a large soap bubble, the colors constantly changing. Inside, it was as though there was a voice calling out to her. She did not feel any danger, but instead felt the light screen emitting waves of warmth. The little girl immediately shouted, "Why are we going back? There's still one more stage." Tang Tian's eyes darkened. He almost fell headfirst. He turned his head and stared at the little girl angrily. "Didn't you say he has a lot of treasures?" Magic Flute said warmly, "You can't beat the flute sound. Be careful, don't touch the light screen." Magic Flute immediately reminded everyone, that person just now was infected by the yearning screen. His vitality was greatly injured. Uncle Flute. Chapter 189. Magic Flute's blue eyes seemed to be able to see through the world. Gu Shui was not too sad. On the contrary, her heart was filled with calmness and satisfaction. A few Tan Tue blades hit the opponent without any fanciful moves. Even though he had been a loner for his entire life, unruly and unsociable, and lived his life in the mountains, this feeling had never changed. There was pain, there was loneliness, there was irritation, there was anger, there was sorrow, there was suffering, but all of these were like pieces of small wooden plates tied to a rainbow-colored rope. Xia, that was Xia, was actually killed by Gu Shui in one sword. The fearless Ling Su, for the first time, revealed a look of shock and fear in his orange eyes. This sword was completely out of his imagination. The little girl's eyes widened. She was the first to react. She must go back and tell her father. The Gu clan will become very strong. The new generation Gu clan patriarch will be very, very strong. "Ah Shui, you must be careful." Tang Tian kept his smile. His expression congealed. He warned. He said seriously, "If anything is wrong, immediately retreat. If that broken sword dares to harm you, humph, I will smash it." It was not that he could not, but that he could not bear to. Bing stared blankly at Ghost Claw, his mouth forming a circle, his expression as though he had seen a ghost. The rainbow entered Xia's chest. "Yes." Ghost Claw's voice was hoarse. He spoke with great difficulty. The snow rainbow blood meridians automatically activated. Monarch Yearning Strike. This is the Monarch Yearning Strike. It was as though there was a voice in her heart saying, "Wave this sword like a rainbow." A gorgeous, yet gentle, Rainbow-like sword light flew out of the sword. Ghost Claw spoke. It was dead silent. She saw the red-eyed statues surrounding her, and when she was thrown away by Tang Tian was getting further and further away from her. Gu Shue's face exposed a sincere smile. Her eyes, like pearls in the night, emitted an enchanting light. Snow rainbow blood meridians? Magic Flute was surprised. He sized up Gu Shue, then nodded. I understand. Please go. Perhaps it really belongs to you. Hey, why do you only say half of what you want to say? Tang Tian's face was unhappy as he pointed at Magic Flute's nose and scolded. I hate people like you who only say half of what you want to say. Will you die if you don't say everything? If there's anything you know, just say it. Good brothers are loyal. In the future, we'll be in the same group, you know? She didn't expect that her adventure would help Gu Shue. Suddenly, she felt incomparably fortunate that she had such a teacher. Given the relationship between her teacher and Gu Shue, as long as they were still teachers, Gu Shue would definitely stand on Marquis Wu's side. Don't worry. Gu Shue said softly, I don't think it will hurt me. Tired? Ghost Claw said with a wooden face. Suddenly, Gu Shue understood why this sword would choose her. Even it could see that she was destined to be a person who would be longing for her entire life. She saw the moment when Tang Tian hugged her and hid from Xia. Gu Shue's face revealed a smile. It was a huge sword. The sword hilt was very wide. She needed to use both hands to hold it. The sword hilt was wrapped with 7 colored ropes that symbolized good luck. At the end of the knots, there was a string of red beans. The sword hilt was shaped like a swallow's wings. The sword body was wide. 7 straight and different colored stripes lined up side by side. From the sword hilt to the sword tip, they converged at the sword tip. A light sigh of vicissitudes sounded in her heart. This sigh contained too much longing, too much suffering, too much loneliness, too much. The entire world seemed to have quietened down in front of this sword. A gentle and graceful rainbow, without a trace of smoke or fire, floated past. In the depths of Ghost Claw's eyes, a blazing light aura lit up. Bing was actually just talking to himself out of habit. Then, a hoarse voice suddenly sounded out. Ah 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 ah. Bing covered his face and screamed. Longing monarch does not slash. Tang Tian stared blankly at the young lady with long hair waving the sword. She was dazzling and valiant. At the end, Tang Tian's face had already turned into a fawning one. Hey, little Tang doesn't like to live off a woman. It really makes me anxious. Such a good woman, if it was me in the past. Bing mumbled. He raised his head and suddenly saw Ghost Claw's eyes. He was stunned. Pa. Then, why didn't you say it? Bing asked with a face of fear. Behind the cross door, Bing stamped his feet and sighed to Ghost Claw. Ayaya, this Miss Perfect, now she has become Ms. Perfect. What a loss. No, she is now very strong. This life of longing. Bing immediately reacted. His poker face became serious. Your heart is palpitating? Your fire scythe Ghost Claw is also a Grandmaster grade. I wonder if you have ever thought of going above the Grandmaster grade? He fiercely gripped the silver spear in his hand tightly. Grandmaster grade. That had always been his goal. He had been thinking about training the pointed sea spear to the Grandmaster grade. Today, he finally knew how ignorant he was. The gorgeous colors surged towards Gu Shue's position. Gu Shue's body was surrounded by a rainbow of colors. It merged with the screen of yearning. Gu Shue only felt that the scenery in front of him was changing. He did not stop Gu Shue. He knew that for Ah Shue to stand out, there must be a reason. He believed in Ah Shue. Without thinking, Gu Shue waved the big sword in her hand. It was different from what she imagined. When she waved it, the sword was really like a rainbow. It was light and powerless. This rainbow-colored rope was the yearning sword. Almost at the same time, a ghostly figure appeared beside the monarch yearning strike. Her hand was already touching the sword. Seeing that Xia was about to succeed, the sword suddenly lit up with a dazzling rainbow of colors. Qi Ya's body suddenly froze. He looked in disbelief at Gu Shue, who was waving her sword. His chest was embedded with a thin rainbow. Not right. She walked towards the screen of yearning. When she got close to the screen of yearning, her body suddenly lit up with rainbow-like lights, layer by layer. Tang Tian's excited roar was like thunder. He blocked Xia. A few Tan-Tue blades consecutively drew a sharp ray in the air. They crisscrossed and shot towards Xia. Xia's vision was filled with dazzling colors. He wanted to shout, but he could not make any sound. His body started to transform into colorful spots of light. He disappeared into the air. Just when she heard magic flutes chant, she secretly shook her head. Tang Tian had brought light to her life, brought luck, brought freedom, and she could even quietly leave a yearning for him. The Southern Cross Army's chief instructor. Ah! Xia screamed. As though he had touched a burning hot iron, he let go. No one had ever seen such a simple slash. They were all dumbstruck and shocked on the spot. Suddenly, Slaying Sword Demon who was sitting beside the sword turned into ashes. With a speed visible to the naked eye, he disappeared. The rainbow-colored screen of yearning suddenly transformed into a ray of rainbow light and entered her eyes. Her eyes were covered with a layer of rainbow light, waving the sword like a rainbow. The moment the sword was in her hands, the intense yearning and longing almost made Gu Shui cry. She could clearly feel the sincere feelings between Wang Yong and his wife. It was a longing that lasted for decades. The rainbow was a beautiful color. There was no whistling, no shaking of the earth. It was like the wind. Monarch yearning strike. Such a terrifying monarch yearning strike. The sword that was stuck in the ground roared. It transformed into a ray of light and flew towards Gu Shui. A figure suddenly appeared out of nowhere and pounced towards the monarch yearning strike. With that, Gu Shui turned and walked towards the screen of yearning. When she reached the front of the screen of yearning, she bowed. Disciple Gu Shui wishes to obtain the monarch yearning strike. I seek senior's permission. Qingwan's face was pale without a trace of blood. She had always been proud of her wavering sword wings. But after witnessing the monarch yearning strike, she could not even muster the slightest bit of competitive spirit. She saw the day she met Tang Tian. Everyone was dumbfounded by this sword strike. The entire hall was so quiet that even a pin drop could be heard. So, above the Grandmaster level, there was an even higher realm of martial techniques. The screen of yearning that had never changed suddenly trembled. The light aura flowed. Yearning was the color of the rainbow. Ghost Claw naturally did not speak. Yearning was the best gift. With it, one would not be lonely. Yes. You can speak? Bing pointed at Ghost Claw and asked with a trembling voice. Suddenly thinking about how she was facing a fellow that could speak and think, and spoke a bunch of gibberish every day, Bing suddenly felt that life was very dark. She saw the moment when Tang Tian appeared in the ruins and the despair in the snowy night. A life with yearning was also beautiful. Wang Yong injected into the sword were all soft emotions. Gu Shui would definitely become a Heaven's Road grade martial artist. This premonition was unprecedentedly strong. Why don't I feel pain? I was already prepared for you. Magic Flute chuckled, please don't be angry. I do not understand much about the snow rainbow blood meridians. But I feel that, out of all of us, the one with the highest possibility of pulling out the monarch yearning strike is Miss Shui. A girl that was supposed to fall into hell had obtained so much. What was there to be regretful about? Monarch yearning strike. This is the monarch yearning strike. Just like the rainbow, the monarch yearning strike. Magic Flute muttered to himself, who can escape from yearning? Slaying Sword Demon, this word, demon, I have belittled you, Wang Yong. If the pointed sea spear surpassed the Grandmaster grade, then what would it be? Ling Su suddenly became excited. That traitor's pointed sea spear was at the Grandmaster grade. As long as he trained the pointed sea spear to surpass the Grandmaster grade, then he would definitely be able to defeat that asshole. The monarch yearning strike was like a rainbow light, flying into Gu Shui's hands. This was a sword that surpassed the Grandmaster grade. A martial technique could actually be strong to such an extent. It was too embarrassing. Her rainbow pupils lit up. A wave of dense emotions, entered her body from the sword hilt, directly striking her heart. If I knew it would be so heartbreaking, I would have never met you. Tang Tian quivered. He sensed that something was wrong. How could Xia be hit so easily? Then go ahead. Tang Tian encouraged. He tilted his head. Who knows, it might be suitable for you. I suddenly remembered. Your blood meridians are snow rainbow, and the color of the yearning screen is rather similar. Chapter 190. Magic Flute, who was starting to assimilate into the encampment life, quickly found a new joy, and that was Bing and Ghost Claw torturing Tang Tian. 10,000 anvils? Not too smart? Bing laughed out loud. He's stupid, and his brain doesn't even know how to think. This kind of rascal, you actually said he's not too smart, you're such a hypocrite. An interesting and limitless young lad, under the torment of two strong teachers, what would he become? His eyes flashed with an undetectable ray of light. Godlike young lady, do your best. If you want to cultivate the Grandmaster level Fire Scythe Ghost Claw, grind through these 10,000 anvils, with your aptitude, it shouldn't be a problem. Ghost Claw said calmly. Bing was speechless. Indeed, the training he had planned for Tang Tian far exceeded Tang Tian's level of true power. She held onto the wide monarch yearning strike with one hand, her sky-blue dress and black hair fluttering in the air. She tiptoed, waved her right wrist, and waved at Tang Tian with all her might. Looking at the carriage moving further away, looking at the figure moving further away. This anvil he grinded for a full 3 days. The carriage flew in the air. To prevent any accidents, the Star Master and the 4 great Su-Shi group guarded carefully along the way. Tang Tian took a deep breath and said, I'll train. Bing was enraged and was about to open his mouth when Tang Tian panted, What's next training? She was amused by her own actions and giggled, her eyes curved like crescent moons, like a cat's satisfied expression. Tang Tian's 10 fingers were like 10 iron rods, rubbing against the anvil, sparks flying. Ghost Claw said coldly, Haven't you always been doing this? As usual. Ghost Claw said. Shut up. Ghost Claw said impatiently, Why didn't I realize you were so noisy in the past? I'm a country bumpkin. Ghost Claw said coldly. Bing's attention was diverted. In terms of training, this rascal is a true genius. However, he definitely couldn't use those academic theories. This guy's IQ was close to 0. He definitely wouldn't be able to understand those complicated theories. But if you throw him into a desperate situation, you will find that he will be the one to come out alive. Without another word, Tang Tian began the arduous journey of grinding the anvil. Wasn't it just 10,000 anvils? Compared to the foundation martial skill training back then, the quantity was far less. There were no shortcuts to all martial techniques. He thought of the stone staircase carved out by swords on Mount Buzhou and the densely packed sword marks in the cave. Every path leading to the master-level martial technique must be extremely difficult. Bing muttered, I have met such recruits before, I call them the wild beasts. They were like wild beasts. They were not smart, but they had astonishing intuition. When they practiced martial skills, they learned them very quickly. More importantly, the wild beasts usually had a pure heart and an unusual persistence. When the two are combined, they burst into a dazzling light. Bing choked. Just at this time, Tang Tian had already ground through the anvil in front of him. His fingers felt as though they did not belong to him anymore. Using 10 fingers to grind through a 20 centimeters thick anvil, such a boring thing, he actually managed to do it. The news of his return had long reached Marquis Wu. Marquis Wu immediately sent an extremely luxurious carriage. Originally, Marquis Wu tried his best to invite Gu Shui to visit Marquis Wu, but Gu Shui needed to stabilize his realm. He had just obtained the Monarch Yearning Strike, and needed to spend a lot of time to comprehend, so he could only decline. Beautifully done. Bing clapped hard and praised loudly, this kind of training without any technical content is really unworthy of a godlike young man. Only a chief instructor of the Southern Cross Army like me, who is well versed in the orthodox training method. The warm sunlight shone on the verdant mountains in the distance and the azure sky. The young lady quickly collected the sadness and disappointment in her heart. The young lady raised her head, her face brimming with warmth and determination. Countless anvils fell from the sky like raindrops and covered the entire room. They were densely packed, neat and tidy. Looking at it, it actually made Tang Tian feel dizzy. He asked with a trembling voice, How many pieces do I have to grind? Furthermore, he had the recruit camp, and just based on time, he had more time than others. Tang Tian quickly found the knack. The silver martial spirit's strong intuition made him extremely sensitive to the flow of true power, and after stepping into the 6th level, his true power expanded to many corners that he could not reach previously, and his control over his body also had an obvious increase. Tang Tian was perspiring profusely, his eyes wide open, and exerted all his strength. His 10 fingers continuously grinded the anvil, sparks flew everywhere, iron, sand and sweat flew everywhere. If the wild beasts were in the academy, they would be very miserable. They are always not good at theory. They are naturally unorthodox, the real battle type. Real battles, desperate situations, are the most suitable places for them to train. Bing said, Smart? Bing looked at Magic Flute in astonishment. You actually think he's smart? Honestly, I have never seen anyone as stupid as him. Within 100 calculations out of 10, he would get it wrong 10 times. I reckon that his teacher in the past must have been angered to death many times. Tang Tian is very smart. Magic Flute was slightly surprised. Tang Tian's efficiency increased rapidly, from 1 piece every 3 days, very quickly to 1 a day, and then to 3 a day. He only used 10 days. That's true. Magic Flute nodded in agreement. He was also very curious about Tang Tian, a young lad who was not affected by the sound of the flute. It was really rare. Just this point was out of the ordinary. Bing was furious. Are you insulting me? 10,000, 1 piece every 3 days, that's 30,000 days, adding on another 6,500, you can train for 10 years. Even if the speed increases with a discount, 5 years. Bing retorted sarcastically, 5 years to train a 7th level Grandmaster grade claw technique? Is there something wrong with his brain? Magic Flute thought about Tang Tian's usual performance and could not help but laugh. He's not usually very smart. Seeing that the two of them were about to quarrel again, Magic Flute immediately changed the topic, but I see that his training is very fast. As usual? Tang Tian was stunned, looking at the anvil that he had ground through. I've already ground through it. Imitating Tang Tian's tone, Gu Shui shouted loudly. Ah Shui, I'm leaving. Tang Tian jumped onto the carriage, waved his arms and shouted, Ah Shui, work hard. I'll find you to play in the future. Gu Shui's face revealed a smile, and nodded seriously and firmly, yes. 10,000. Ghost Claw said indifferently. Ghost Claw did not say anything, and only focused on Tang Tian who was sweating profusely, creating sparks. Bing, Ghost Claw, Magic Flute, the 3 of them stood side by side, and watched Tang Tian who was training his fire scythe Ghost Claw. Tang Tian very quickly realized that the entire palm of his hand was filled with true power, but the effect was not good. And if a thin layer of true power was placed on the fingertips, not only could it greatly reduce the consumption of true power, it could also increase the effect of the friction. The carriage was very luxurious, and the space was very big, and everyone had their own room. The young lady was originally prepared for the journey, and begged her teacher to release the handsome Uncle Magic Flute, but who knew that once Tang Tian entered the room, he never left. Squinting her eyes, the smiling Gu Shui softly said to herself in her heart, Southern Cross Army Recruit Barracks. Tang Tian was undergoing an extremely boring training. In front of him was an extremely thick anvil. All 10 of his fingers were filled with true power, continuously rubbing against the anvil. Her snow-white wrists were clenched into fists. I've already taught you the method. Whether to train or not is your own choice. Ghost Claw ignored Bing and directly spoke to Tang Tian. Dong dong dong. This is your fire scythe Ghost Claw? Bing was somewhat disdainful. Hey, I'm giving little Tang Tang's precious training time to you. You have to take responsibility. Don't find some random countryside training method and waste everyone's time. In Buzhou Mountain, everyone found the vein. This vein belonged to the Gu family, and Zhai Hingzhan, Qing Wan and Princess Mingzhu would all have a share of the profits. The few of them planned to reduce the share, as Gu Shui, who inherited the monarch yearning strike, was destined to become a Heaven's Road grade martial artist, and it was more important to be on good terms with Gu Shui. But Gu Shui still stuck to the plan that they had discussed previously and did not place too much importance on the vein. But what made him most curious was still the mystical encampment. Magic Flute could clearly feel that his strength was slowly recovering, although the speed was slow, but it still made him extremely happy. After so many years, his strength was continuously draining, and he was helpless against it. When his strength was completely drained, that would be the day he dissipated. To any spirit general, that was the inevitable result. Tang Tian almost fainted, grinding through 10,000 anvils. Tang Tian gasped for breath, his 10 fingers arched like chicken claws, unable to stretch out. Time passed slowly. Shui must work hard. The next time you see him, you must give him a fright. Magic Flute was curious. Did you nurture a powerful wild beast sect in the past? Even for Tang Tian, he could not help but feel a little fearful. Magic Flute watched the battle with interest. He was extremely interested in the two of them, especially being a spirit general during the Southern Cross Army period. To actually survive till now, he was extremely surprised. Although Ghost Claw's origin was not as illustrious as Bing, but to be able to create a Grandmaster grade claw technique, it was not an average standard. Finished grinding? This is just the beginning. Ghost Claw said coldly. Who knew there was actually such a mystical place in the world? Very quickly, his interest became even more intense. Bing nodded his head. Yes, but the Wild Beast sect is usually the easiest to die in battle. Real battles can allow people to improve, but the elimination rate is much higher than other training methods, and it is very easy to die. Many of the talented Wild Beast sect die very early. Ghost Claw nodded his head. You are now about the same as Tang Tian. Ghost Claw suddenly said. Isn't it too early to learn rank 6? Bing had the face of an experienced person and pretended to say, according to my many years of experience, it is not a good thing to spoil things through excessive enthusiasm. Chapter 191. The 2-month journey had finally ended. This was probably the most boring journey that the young lady had ever taken. Everyone was training with all their might. Even Qingwan, who used to play with her every day, was training like a madman. With one bite, the hard bones in the middle of the elbow would shatter on the spot. The meat juices and bones flew everywhere. The saliva on the plate was the same color. The young lady's grumbling stopped abruptly. She opened her eyes wide and stared blankly at Tang Tian, who had just walked out of the room. Finished, he stood up and walked towards the room. The young lady was dumbstruck. Me? Hearing that, Tang Tian was startled. He lowered his head to look at himself and replied, Training. Marquis Wu's expression softened. He revealed a satisfied look. I did not expect that after this trip, they would improve so much. Qingwan's talent is not bad. She just did not put her heart and mind into training. Alright, hurry up and introduce your master Tang to your father. Tang Tian was at a loss. Ghost Claw originally wanted to soak Tang Tian's swollen fingers in medicine. He did not expect that Tang Tian's fingers, no matter how fast it swelled, with the use of true power, the swelling would subside the next day. Tang Tian's current appearance was terrible. His hair was messy. His eyes were bloodshot. The clothes on his body were filled with sand holes. The sharp-eyed young lady could even see sand-like things constantly falling from Tang Tian's body onto the luxurious and exquisite carpet. As long as Ling Su digested all this energy, with his strength, he would have the qualifications to attack the Heaven's Road grade martial artist. The middle-aged man's face was filled with benevolence. He knocked on the young lady's head. He scolded softly. You are becoming more and more mischievous. You actually dared to sneak to such a far place. Gotcha. Tang Tian's stomach was round. He sat paralyzed on the chair and did not want to move. Marquis Wu's bodyguards were even more nervous. They all looked like they were facing a formidable enemy. The flagstones in front of Marquis Wu's door were all clear water rocks, which were as hard as steel. However, under Ling Su's feet, they were as soft as tofu. Tang Tian nodded and said, "Yes, that's right." When Tang Tian saw the food on the table, his originally lifeless eyes suddenly emitted a faint green light, and he pounced on the table like a hungry tiger. Just as he was about to reach for food, everyone realized that Tang Tian's fingers were swollen like 10 fat carrots. Tang Tian slept for a full 10 hours. He was in a deep sleep. Later, it was Zhai Hengzhan who identified it. "This is iron sand." Moreover, Ling Su was so young. He wore a gold-threaded white robe, held a silver spear and silver hair, and had orange pupils and red tassels. He looked extraordinary. Even Marquis Wu could not help but exclaim, "What a young man!" He jumped directly from the window and rushed into the middle-aged man's arms. Tang Tian, whose eyes were shining, was like a running beast. He opened his bloody mouth and accurately bit the elbow. Everything happened in the time it takes for a spark to fly off a flint. Tang Tian's movements were neat and impeccable. There was an awkward silence. "Is teacher practicing the iron sand palm?" The little girl's first reaction was this. "It doesn't look like it." Zhai Hengzhan shook his head. "The iron sand used to practice the iron sand palm is bigger than this one. Moreover, the iron sand palm is only a rank 4 martial art skill. Why would teacher Tang practice a rank 4 martial arts skill?" Sweep. Tang Tian swept with an unimaginable efficiency. Everything on the dining table was swept clean, even the fruits and tea were not touched. The table was as clean as though it had been washed. During the whole process, he did not use his hands. Due to a lack of control, his whole foot sank as if he had stepped into tofu. His body swayed and his other foot also lost control. Pooh! It also sank into the stone floor. Tang Tian's jet-black claws had just touched a plate of elbow when he cried out in pain. His hands retracted as if he had been electrocuted. When the elbow was touched by him, it rolled down from the plate and was about to fall onto the carpet. Ling Su, who was originally a training maniac, saw that Tang Tian did not even leave the house, so he immediately increased his efforts. He used the practice field as his home. He slept in the practice field and ate in the practice field. Too scary. So at this time, his aura was exposed, showing off his abilities. His unkempt figure, in the eyes of the crowd, immediately became tall and big. Qingwan, who was deeply affected, turned around and left. "I also want to train." "That's true." The little girl tilted her head and thought for a long time. But what other martial art needs so much iron sand? When Tang Tian opened his eyes again, he saw the little girl's curious face. The little girl did not expect Tang Tian to open his eyes. She was so scared that she screamed and jumped to the side. Qingwan and Zhai Hengzhan were in awe. Even during the journey, he did not give up training. No wonder teacher Tang was so young and had such amazing strength. How many people could have such an attitude of training? Is he in seclusion? Marquis Wu's face showed surprise. Suddenly, the little girl's eyes lit up. She waved her arm. "Brother Ling." "Teacher, what happened to you?" The little girl asked carefully. Her face was full of nervousness. "Teacher stayed in the room for 20 days. How could he come out like this?" "I don't know. Anyway, he stayed in the room and locked the door. No one knows what he is doing inside." The little girl said hatefully, "He also brought Qingwan and the others to train wholeheartedly." Tang Tian was really exhausted. The time outside was continuous for 20 days. This meant that in the recruit camp, he had trained for a whole 60 days. Tang Tian looked around and asked, "Where's Ling Su?" Marquis Wu immediately thought of Ling Su. He squinted his eyes and sized up Ling Su. His future was limitless. Marquis Wu scratched her nose and scolded, "I'd be stupid to believe you." At this moment, Ling Su was like the sharp spear in his hands. Every step he took made people feel a sense of danger. The bodyguards by Marquis Wu's side had a slight change in expression. They could not help but rush towards Marquis Wu. In the end, They concluded that Tang Tian's physique was special. Regarding Bing's wild beast theory, Ghost Claw did not agree or disagree. But Tang Tian's physique, to him, was definitely a wild beast grade. The 60 days in the recruit camp, adding the 20 days in the real world, he had trained continuously for 80 days. He was already exhausted to the extreme. And now that the recruit camp was opening up one after another, the time difference was 1 to 3. Furthermore, there was no need for the hardship training mode, and his time was even more free. The young lady curiously pinched her nose and went over. She picked up a grain of sand that could be seen everywhere on Tang Tian's body. After looking at it for half a day, she still could not understand. This number would not be broken for a long time. The valiant and handsome Ling Su suddenly had a vagabond-like fellow by his side. The strong contrast in contrast caused everyone to be stunned. Every day he would only grind the anvil. Although he had the protection of true power, Tang Tian's 10 fingers were still swollen like carrots. He also found the martial techniques and killing techniques that he trained behind the cross door for over 10,000 times. Good. Marquis Wu doted on Mingzhu. He suddenly frowned. Where's Qingwan? Where's Heng Zhan? To be able to grind 10 anvils a day, even Ghost Claw was shocked. Tang Tian's improvement was beyond his imagination. So weird. The young lady was curious. I don't know. Zhai Hengzhan shook his head. I don't know how many martial techniques there are in the world. All of them require the use of iron sand. It's hard to calculate. Suddenly, a figure flashed, and the pork knuckle disappeared. The dumbstruck young lady, Qingwan and the rest, witnessed the most savage eating scene in history. The plump pork knuckle, the seasoned marinade, flowed into Tang Tian's mouth. Tang Tian was completely crazy. He was curious, why would Ghost Claw think of such a weird method to grind anvils? The young lady pouted, they are all training and did not play with me the whole way. Marquis Wu's eyes lit up. With one look, he could tell that Ling Su was only one step away from being a Heaven's Road martial artist. He was a genuine quasi-Heaven's Road martial artist. Brother Ling is also training every day. The young lady said, he is at the training grounds. Just at this time, a man with messy hair and a dirty face in tattered clothes suddenly rolled down from the carriage and landed beside Ling Su, his eyes glowing green. After waiting for a long time, there was no reaction. She raised her head and saw that Tang Tian was sleeping soundly. Strength, there was no such thing as luck. It was too tiring. Your daughter will not dare to do it again. The young lady obediently admitted her mistake. Tang Tian's 10 fingers were like 10 unstoppable hammers, brushing past the anvil, sparks would fly. The clothes on his body were all burnt by the hot iron sand. Teacher has always been training. He has not come out for 40 days. The young lady pouted even higher. What kind of lousy teacher is he? He did not even care about his student. What is teacher doing? The young lady pouted. He has been locked in his room for 20 days. Don't tell me he is doing something shameful? This made Ghost Claw, who had no expression at all, once again surprised for a long time. Tang Tian nodded his head. I understand. That's right. The young lady pouted even higher. How can there be such a teacher, to not even see his shadow for 20 days, leaving his student here alone? What kind of teacher is that? Hey, who has food? Qingwan was immediately displeased, slightly reprimanding. Miss, how can you say that about Teacher Tang? Marquis Wu raised his hand, stopping the guards from moving forward. Such a powerful aura. He had no choice but to spend a certain amount of time every day, using true power to reduce the swelling on carrot fingers, but the results were pretty good. In the 80 days, from the first 3 days he could wear through 1 anvil, to the 10th day he could wear through 3 anvils a day. And on the 30th day, he could wear through 5 anvils a day. On the 80th day, the number had increased to 10 anvils a day. On the carpet, one after another black footprints. Teacher, what's going on with you? The young lady, who had not recovered from the shock, immediately asked. Ling Su carefully controlled his own feet. On the surface he looked extremely calm, but in his heart he was extremely nervous. He had just broken through, and his strength had increased explosively, but this strength, he was still far from being able to tame it. So when the young lady saw the middle-aged man waiting at the entrance of the residence, her eyes immediately lit up and happily called out, "Father." In the past, Tang Tian's bitter training would start one cycle every 5 days, and each cycle would last for 10 days. The time difference was 1 to 2. This was pure hard labor. Tang Tian felt that he was like a laborer in a blacksmith shop, grinding the anvils day and night. 20 days? I remember it was 80 days. Could it be that teacher has been training for 20 days? The young lady asked. Tang Tian continued to immerse himself in training. The young lady immediately hugged Marquis Wu's arm and shook it. "It's true, it's true." But, to Tang Tian, there was no difference. This middle-aged man with a kind face was Marquis Wu, who was in charge. Chapter 192. Ming Ho was a fatty, with a round face and small eyes. He held a small green fan in his hand and kept fanning himself. But no one dared to look down on this fatty. Ming Ho's strength was not inferior to Marquis Wu. The two of them had fought for many years and were evenly matched. The young lady weakly called out, "Teacher?" This fellow came prepared. Marquis Wu knew that it would not end well today, but he did not have any fear in his heart. The two of them had fought many times and had a clear understanding of each other's strength. "Xian, he is right." Xian's tone was extremely arrogant and proud. Given by Marquis, even if he doesn't want to eat it, he has to eat it. "Teacher, what?" A savage gaze. Xian's words stopped abruptly. In his vision, that pair of lush green eyes suddenly flashed with 2 streaks of green light, like a hungry wolf in the night, bringing forth a green light. What made him even more frightened was, the opponent's 10 fingers grabbed onto his sword. Hearing Ming Ho's words, Marquis Wu's heart surged with anger. Ming Ho was slapping his face. The other expert in the residence, Lung Feng, was not around, and with Marquis Wu's identity, if he were to make a move against Xian, he would lose all his face. He understood Ming Ho very well. This time, this fellow was here to show off his prowess. If he were to make a move, Ming Ho would not sit and watch. He was immediately enraged. He originally wanted to perform well in front of Ming Ho and the 2 clan elders, but he did not expect that he would be made a fool of by the opponent's strange gaze. Marquis Wu was surprised. Qingwan was picked up by him. He watched her grow up and treated her like a daughter. Although Qingwan's temper was gentle, but in truth she was gentle on the outside but tough on the inside. Her ambition was very high, and she would rarely submit to anyone. To the residents that held the advantage in the competition, they would receive all sorts of rewards from the clan elders. Regardless if it was Marquis Wu or Ming Ho residents, they were the ones who benefited from the competition. Tang Tian suddenly turned his head and stared at Xian. It seemed like he was going to suffer this time. Countless sparks blossomed from the pair of jet-black fingers, but the other party's fingers were unscathed. Xian could hardly believe his eyes. Along the way, he had been secretly observing Ling Su. Ling Su's aura was swift and fierce, and he looked extremely dangerous. Tang Tian's lush green eyes swept across the crowd as he screamed in his heart. In order to cultivate, he had been eating dry rations that were hard to swallow these days. Whenever he saw meat, he would instinctively drool. Marquis Wu was secretly alarmed. He decided to take a look first before flipping out. In a moment of desperation, he tried to pull out his sword, but no matter how much strength he used, the sword was like molten iron, not moving an inch. That pair of jet-black palms were like iron claws, firmly locking onto his sword. "Teacher, idiot, using your fingers to lock the sword? See how I turn you into minced meat." Because of this, the Council of Elders had always encouraged competition between the various manors, both openly and covertly. The competition between the various prefectures could very well achieve these 2 goals. "I'll go." Qingwan took the initiative to say. She had seen Tang Tian's table manners before. Without saying a word, she flew towards the kitchen. Everyone's expression was sluggish. They were completely unable to understand the situation in front of them. Even Marquis Wu's expression froze for a short period of time. The entire place was dead silent. Lung Feng was not there, and the other expert, Yang Qing, was not there either. The two of them were sent by the Council of Elders to carry out missions. The only one who could let Ming Ho have his way was Xia and Xian sneered, but his pupils suddenly became sluggish. In his vision, countless dazzling sparks suddenly lit up from his sword blade. Ming Ho laughed sinisterly. I came here today to seek advice from you, and see if you have improved recently. How about it? Today, Elder Yun and Elder Lin are here, and can be our witnesses. What a joke! This subordinate loves to do good deeds. Xian also laughed in ridicule. In his hand was a steamed bun. He slowly walked towards Tang Tian. Hey, Marquis Wu's pitiful teacher, I've brought you a steamed bun. We are doing good deeds. Ming Ho pretended to wave his small fan. But his father's side had the advantage in strength, but his little teacher's side was not weak either. Ling Su Bing, magic flute. If both sides were to fight, Marquis Wu would definitely be destroyed. Wanting to devour someone? This was the kind of gaze it was talking about. Marquis Wu's pupils constricted. His subordinate spies had long spread the news. Ming Ho had recently recruited an expert called Xian. His strength was extremely high. Upon entering the Ming Ho residence, he became the number 3 person in the residence. The lush green gaze swept past Xian. For some reason, Xian had never seen such a gaze before. He only felt a cold, intense sweeping past his body, and his entire body tensed up. Hearing the word meat, Tang Tian swallowed his saliva. His voice was so loud that everyone could hear it. Ming Ho waved his small fan and ridiculed, I am only pitying him. Pity, Marquis Wu is actually so stingy to this extent. He can't even eat his fill. Xian, you are actually giving this pitiful person something to eat. For some reason, when Tang Tian's lush green eyes swept past them, everyone felt a cold intent rising from the bottom of their hearts. They could not help but shiver. Some of the weaker martial artists even subconsciously retreated a small step. Even Marquis Wu, when Tang Tian's gaze swept past him, his body also froze. The sound of the sword under the steamed bun being bitten into pieces, and the sound of the bones in the middle of the meat being bitten into pieces, were almost exactly the same. When she was at Phylan Star, in the letters she wrote to her father, she kept on praising Tang Tian because she did not want her father to look down on Tang Tian. She and Tang Tian had signed a martial spirit contract. If her father and Tang Tian were to fight, then she would be miserable. What made her even more worried was that if her father knew about the martial spirit contract, he would definitely fly into a rage. In this dazzling fireworks, a pair of lush green eyes suddenly appeared beside the sword. Hearing that, Xian arrogantly sneered, this kind of fellow is only fit to eat steamed buns. But Ling Su only looked at him with a smile that was not a smile, and did not have any intention of stepping forward to stop him. Could it be that Ling Su and this fellow were not on good terms? Xia An's heart felt strange. If not, why would he put on an expression like he was watching a good show? What? You don't want to eat? Xia An's face sneered. You dare not give face to Marquis? Are you tired of living? Marquis Wu's originally gloomy face became even more black like the bottom of a pot. Marquis Wu's matters, when did it become Ming Ho's turn to worry about it? Upon receiving this news, Marquis Wu was extremely attentive. To be able to become the 3rd person in the Ming Ho residence, this Xia An's strength was most likely very close to a Heaven's Road grade martial artist. Marquis Wu's face darkened, and the atmosphere immediately became extremely oppressive. The young lady noticed her father's expression and immediately knew that things were not good. Her father was usually very easy to talk to, but as long as it involved her, he would quickly become picky and harsh. Every teacher of hers were all carefully selected by her father. Tang Tian acted as though he did not hear anything. The two hot-tempered fellows started to fight. The Tianxing 13 constabularies had limitless glory, but every single one of the constabularies was like walking on thin ice and did not dare to slack off. Above the 13 constabularies was the Star Group Elder Group, and every elder in the Elder Group had a deep background. The elders usually did not interfere with the internal affairs of the 13 constabularies. The elders wholeheartedly trained and did not have any interest in worldly affairs. Following that, Ming Ho fanned himself and laughed. Steamed buns are already not bad, he will like them. The person in front of him who looked like a tramp was actually Ming Zhu's teacher. Such a sloppy fellow was actually Ming Zhu's teacher. The young lady had never felt so embarrassed in her entire life. If there was a crack on the ground, she would definitely crawl into it, this asshole teacher. The young lady clenched her teeth in her heart, but she knew, at that moment, she had to be calm down. Until then, Marquis Wu then saw the two red-robed men behind Ming Ho, his pupils constricted, two elders. But, since Ling Su did not interfere, Xian immediately heaved a sigh of relief. Tang Tian's temper was definitely not good. If he had asked nicely, they might still be able to talk. But if he were to use force, this little teacher of his would definitely not say a word and start fighting. With that said, his body flashed and appeared beside Tang Tian. The sword in his hand that was stabbed with the steamed bun was thrusting towards Tang Tian's mouth. To Marquis Wu, this was not good news. Gotcha! Xia An's expression changed and he bellowed, "Let go!" Suddenly, a voice filled with ridicule sounded out. Tisk, I never thought that teacher Marquis Wu would actually have such a moral character. But this did not mean that the clan elder group did not have any power. On the contrary, the clan elder group's power was extremely great. The formation of the 13 prefectures was completely facilitated by them. The true power in his body surged, the long sword suddenly twisted, and the sword blade quickly rotated. Seeking death. This young master's reward, you do not know how to appreciate it. Marquis Wu did not expect that Ming Ho would suddenly make things difficult for him. He walked towards Tang Tian. If all the people standing in front of him were all edible star spirit beasts, how good would that be? The one who spoke was the master of the other prefecture, Ming Ho. In the Tianxing 13 prefectures, Ming Ho was Marquis Wu's main competitor. Both of them had always been fighting openly and secretly. How is that possible? Everyone's face became weird. This teacher of the princess was really. Tang Tian did not move. The young lady forced herself to calm down and raised her voice. Didn't you hear? Food. Get the kitchen to send food over immediately, especially meat. The originally quiet crowd suddenly became even more deathly still. Marquis Wu, who had just recovered from the stiffness, his eyes almost popped out. Ming Ho Prefecture and Marquis Wu's strength were similar. Both had 2 Heaven Road grade martial artists. Marquis Wu suddenly opened his mouth coldly. Ming Ho, are you bored from eating? Running to my prefecture's doorstep to behave atrociously? Seems like your bones are itching for a fight. Come, let's have a good fight today. Xia suddenly threw the steamed bun to Tang Tian's feet. Hey, quickly eat it, Marga's gift, you must be so touched. Look again, 2 rows of teeth, contrasted by the sparks, became even more dense and white, and fiercely bit the steamed bun on the sword blade. Tianxing was a constellation containing numerous planets, but it did not form into a constellation, which was jointly controlled by the 13 prefectures. Marquis Wu and Ming Ho Prefecture were the strong martial artists of the 13 prefectures. They were not interested in worldly affairs, and only cared about the production of the constellation and the talents that could enter Onyx's soul every year. Just at this time, Xian suddenly stabbed the steamed bun into the sword, intentionally provoking, "Idiot, you don't even know how to eat a steamed bun, let me feed you." So hungry, so hungry, so hungry. A group of people swaggered over. Looking at the disheveled and dirty face and the faint green eyes of the young teacher, the young lady could not bear to look. You're tuning in to the Wang Lin's Journey YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.